Shang-Chi breaks records, well, over decade-old records anyway. Should we believe the hype? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more this morning on Midnight's Edge in the Morning. Greetings, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, where you is. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. I'm Tom Connors. With me, as always, is the boss man, Andre. How you doing, other than being on mobile?
Yeah, greetings. I'm good. I'm far better than the internet service in my area because unlike that, I'm here.
And we are clearly shadow banned. So if you guys could, please share out that link, hit the like button, and that could help us out here this morning. But we have a great panel here with us to break this all down. We've got the one, the only script doctor hailing from the industry itself. He is not a PhD, but he plays one on YouTube.
That's right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Always glad to have you here. We also have with us Mike, the Mexican Iron Man. How you doing?
Very well, sir. Recovering from a 6.5-hour stream last night, but ready and rocking and loaded with caffeine.
Well, you've had just an eventful week altogether, so we'll talk a little bit about that later. But we also have with us here the hair.
Oh, wow.
Hair.
Yeah.
The man, Mr. Culture Casino. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. I didn't have as an eventful a weekend as some of you did. I did have an eventful few moments ago during my 6-minute daily where my computer got spiked or something, where I just basically froze everything on my end, everything on the internet. Yeah, well, I don't know. I was covering a story related to the CCP. Maybe they didn't like it. I don't know. It was weird.
China.
It was weird. But I'm here and I'm happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And who else is happy to see us? Well, we've got people like Ragstar in the chat. We've got Lindsay, the Cynical Geek, hanging in there with the wrench. Welcome and good morning. We got Natasha also hailing with a wrench. We got Keely Chow. We've got Eric Winberg, who fires in a super chat already. He says, oh, man, look at this panel. Happy holiday. Oh, that's right. It is Labor Day. Wow. So happy Labor Day. We got Michael B., a.k.a. Shogun Gaming, who sends in, I believe that's 14 Danish krona. I'm saying
that is indeed 14 Danish krona. I can confirm.
Let me see what the super sticker is here. It is a unicorn. Thank you so much for that. We are kind of a unicorn today because they're trying to hide us. Okay. But if y'all can share the link out, that'll help us out. We got Jesse hanging out with us in the chat. How you doing, buddy? We got D-Bud Martin. We got Film Lars here. We got Fractal Jack. Willie Woodward's hanging out. I believe he also has a wrench as well. Joe Kim Stark is here. Welcome to the show. Sander Hammerslag is here as well. VJ Waxmask is here. Peter Hahn is here. Hamdinger is here. Duck Nation's here. Welcome, everybody, including Grand Wazoo 42 and everybody else. Stephanie Janicek is also listening, as far as I know. Thank you for being here, everybody. And good morning. Good morning. Happy holiday. And welcome to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. We also have another super chat here already from the Waltman 4. Thank you so much for sending in $4.99. That helps keep the lights on here. It says, watch Shang-Chi. Thought it was too okay. Some of the fight scenes should have wide shots, but oh well. Eternals is going to be an uphill battle. Well, we're definitely going to get into that and break all that kind of down this morning. We're not going to really get into the movie per se itself, like a review aspect of it and the spoilers and stuff, so don't worry about that part. We are going to talk about the movie a little bit, though, but I don't think we're going to get into too many deep spoilers.
We just might as the show goes on.
Maybe.
But,
well, here's the thing. I haven't seen the movie. I'm like the only one on the panel who hasn't, I think. And I went and drove an hour yesterday with the intention of seeing the film. But I bought a couch instead, so I don't know. Nobody did. Okay, every time I've told everybody this morning about that, they've said you spent your time better. Nobody says it. I set up the joke. Thanks a lot, guys.
That's what I said this morning. Welcome. I said that was the best use of your time.
Look, you guys left me hanging there.
I would have listen. I'm the one sleeping on your sofa. Trust me. I think it's great you bought new furniture.
4 of you motherfuckers could have said it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, here's the problem. When you have like 4, everyone's waiting for someone else to do it. But yeah, fine, I'll say it. But it was probably a time well spent getting that couch because you'll have much more need of it, and when you look at the box office numbers, regardless of what they try to sell you, they probably would have been better off putting it on Disney Plus so you could have seen it on that couch.
Now you have a couch to sleep on, Mike.
Yay!
But no, I set up the joke for everybody, but that's what every single one of these guys said that to me this morning.
Hey, I was on a 6.5 hour stream last night till 3 a.m. with Doomcock.
So I was waiting for one of them to say it because it was pretty funny. It was true. So evidently I spent my time better getting a couch than I did going to see Shang-Chi. But let's watch.
However, opinions are divided on the subject, though, as I do believe someone is pointing out. Yeah, so bring on, let's watch.
Yeah, I have not seen it yet. I know some people are curious what I think about it. So I just up front, I have not watched it. Let's watch sent us in a very, very generous super chat though. Holy cow. $50 says, hello,
Thank
Andre.
you so much. We really appreciate that. We just have to say right away.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hello, Andre and Tom. I really enjoyed Shang-Chi, a solid 8.5 out of 10. A mix of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with little Jackie Chan, which I loved. Wenwu was my favorite character. Only thing I didn't like was the final battle with this big CGI monster. Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. Let's watch. I kind of wish I had seen it because I know a lot of people knew I was kind of just neutral on the whole thing. I didn't really wasn't really having any expectations up front, but now that I've kind of heard everybody's feeling and opinions on it, I that's probably one of the more glowing reviews I've heard aside from, like Robert Meyer Burnett and those guys. But, I still might see it. We'll see here. If I do, I'm sure we'll talk about it at that point. But I don't know. Are we going to have a roundtable yet, Andre, or what's the plan?
I don't know. It depends on when you see it. I think that maybe there's the time is starting to run out for it. But I think we're going to break down the story a little bit here in this stream over the course of it, because even if you haven't seen it, we have several others on the panel who have, including Script Doctor. And it would be because there are some very mixed opinions. And of course, the opinions are all valid. If you love the movie, hey, awesome, great for you. If you hated it, there are good reasons for that. And if you fall somewhere in between, again, there's, as I put in my review, my spoiler-free review, in my opinion, there's loads of good in it, but it's just a complete tonal mess. But again, that's something we can break down with Script Doctor later on. So I kind of suspect that not right away, but a bit later on in the stream is when we'll probably going to do what we're going to do with that. I don't know if the market will be there for a full Shang-Chi review later on in the week, but maybe it will be. You guys,
according to the headlines, there is.
Well, hey,
but here's the funny thing is outside of people in, the fellowship of YouTube here, I've not met one person or know one person in my personal life who has seen this fucking movie.
Neither have I, actually. Of all my friends that are really into Marvel and stuff not a single one have seen this movie. More than that,
none of my family
they have no interest in it.
I can add one extra thing. So I went on my sister's Facebook page because we share a lot of the same friends, and also because she's my sister, she's connected to a lot of the groups that I have, and a couple of the groups that have Simu Liu in them, no mention of Shang-Chi. Not even the people that work with them have mentioned anything about Shang-Chi, and they talk a lot about movies of people they know. Right now, it's all being dominated by the weird law that's been passed in Texas. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about this movie, and normally they would be, or they should be, because they've all worked with this guy, and they haven't.
That's a good point too.
This is 700 to 800 different people from different parts of the industry.
Wow, that's a good point too, Script. Because you're right. A lot of the people that they're trying to gear this movie towards are more wrapped up into that shit right now. And as we point out, they normally don't go to movies anyway. But just the same. Zontar is sending $2 Canadian. Says there was a black and white movie called A Triumph. Recently?
Oh yeah, I know which one he means.
Which one would that be, Andre?
That for those more classically inclined, he was referring to Triumph of the Will.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, no, that's what I was saying. Trying to get the joke. Never mind, over my head. No problemo. Thank you for that. Joachim Stark sends in what is that? South
Swedish krona. Swedish krona.
Swedish krona. I should know that.
So when you say that, you can say tack så mycket, söta bror. That's what the Norwegian
I'm not
would say.
saying that. Trying to bribe the YouTube algorithm. Well, that might help. You know, you're not wrong there. That's true. And Peter Hahn brings up that my comfort outweighs my dedication to my craft. Well, in this case, I was sick and tired of sitting in a broken down chair while trying to watch TV shows and movies for you guys. And I'm like, well, there's a Labor Day sale going on at the furniture store, or I could rush through my dinner and go see Shang-Chi.
Oh my God, I almost got myself last weekend. I almost got myself a brand new chair for my living room to watch movies on my 4K, because now you got me buying 4K lately.
Right.
I almost got one. Oh shit! Now you're making me think I should go get
Well, I basically got
a recliner.
I got a dual reclining sofa thingy for the price I would normally get a recliner for. So I don't feel too bad.
That's
but
what I was going to look for.
But I'll be eating mac and cheese and hot dogs for the rest of the month. But hey, now I got to figure out how to get it here. Stephen Otten says in $5 says, "Hail Andre, Tom, Mike, Script, Culture, Wrenches, and Chat. I enjoyed the movie, but I questioned some of the box office numbers." Stephen, you know what? That's the thing. I've been looking at this stuff all morning, and I am just scratching my fucking head here. And I know numbers are all Rossist and shit, but man, I am very confused by some of this and where they're getting some of these numbers. And we just hit 666 viewers, the number of the beast.
Yeah, speaking of numbers, that's a very cool number. Everyone hit the like and help share and let us get away from the number of the beast and over into the millennial numbers.
Drop 10 viewers like that. So
wow. Yeah. Let's get it back.
Boy, they're really
water again.
Riding our ass this morning. We never have this kind of problem getting up there. This is rare. Film Lars sends in this is 100 Danish kroner, right?
Yes.
DKK?
Yes, that is 100 Danish kroner.
Says, "Hail Midnight's Edge, pizza, beer, and my favorite show. Thanks for the epic treatment. Turtle." Oh, right. So, yeah, it's like what? Afternoon, evening where you're at? Cool. Enjoy your beer.
Yeah,
pizza.
it's 6:20 p.m. Danish time or Central European time right now.
Awesome. As I say, you know, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, you know, all that good stuff.
Good tacos.
And then Jesse chimes in here with, they get their numbers from real estate market and they play with the books. The girl from Disney told me that on the plane, but I just can't say her name. Well, I know you hadn't seen the film, Jesse, but we can probably send you a link if you want to come in here and chit chat a little bit about that if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Sure. You got the day off. It's Happy Labor Day, as Spider Unlimited says here. It says, "Happy Labor Day, peeps. Relax, enjoy, and be well." Well, we're here with you guys. We're hanging out, and hopefully you guys have some fun talking to us and conversing in the chat. And I'm going to get that link to Jesse here real quick if one of you guys want to take this super chat from Scott Killingsworth while I do that real quick. Thanks.
Yeah, I can do it. Awesome. And Scott Killingsworth says for $5, "Hail Midnighters. Long-time listener of replay, now able to join you live. Passing along some love for all you do." Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm so glad that you could join us live. And before we move on, let's begin with the box office numbers, because I agree. I think we're looking at the Captain Marvel situation here, where maybe perhaps there are some indications, although no evidence, that the box office numbers may have been, what's the term I'm looking for? Fortified. Yes. Maybe they fortified the box office. What's the official box office numbers for this?
Oh, we got a couple different ones. But I think an interesting point to be brought up right before we get into any of this is what Rogues Retro brought up, was the other super chat that was just before the other one we just brought up here. It says, "Is this a golden opening?" Thank you so much for the $5 Canadian super chat, Rogues Retro. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Culture. Real quick, since you kind of covered this the most, can you explain to us real briefly what the golden opening is?
Sure. Yeah, there's a charitable organization for AAPI, Asian and Pacific Islanders, that was founded by a member of that community. That's called Gold House, and they try to ensure gold opens for films that have a significant person or persons from the Asian or Pacific Island community have a presence in the film, whether it be a director, an actor, or whatnot. And this is the fundraising effort, or one of several that I found multiple Gold Open Challenge or Shang-Chi Challenge things in various places, not just here on GoFundMe. Interestingly enough, for whatever reason, this particular GoFundMe is on the .com side and not on the .org side. I don't know for what reason that was. But you can see here that basically between this one and the other two, just on GoFundMe, they raised about $40,000 to essentially pay for seats. Now, this is verifiable money because it went through this particular vehicle. This is not including the money that they've because this is the first time I believe they've partnered with GoFundMe. At least that's what an article in, I think, Variety or Deadline led us to believe last week. They obviously are a charitable organization that go after these films and try to put people who are in disadvantaged positions in the theater to view these films. And again, on the surface, it always looks amazing. But there are some problems with it that obviously I'm not as conversant in as Mike is down here. But there's that it always feels like it's a little hollow. Now, like I said, I mean, if this was like taking the Boys and Girls Club to go see this or whatever, that'd be a little bit different. But having something that has the appearance of being artificially uplifted, that always just rings hollow with me. And again, that's a personal thing. It just, I feel like that's an issue. And again, I mean, it doesn't even have to be a film that's specifically driven by an Asian audience. As you can see, if you look at the history of this effort, I mean, it could be somebody that it just happens to be on the cast, and it could be a huge Marvel film that they're going to throw the efforts behind. So I don't know, but a significant portion of this Gold Open in this particular situation came from the Facebook group for the Asian and Pacific Islanders Facebook group. It's just interesting. So there it is.
Yeah, I feel like that does need to be addressed before we get into any of these numbers. Yeah. Because I think that's going to play a big role as we get going here, because culture, I think you told me your theater was like not very full.
15 people.
Yeah, 13. You said how many people that were in your theater, Mike?
Okay, so when I went online, this is Saturday night. Okay, I just finished my drive, got up. It's Saturday night in Birmingham at the largest AMC, newest one in the Dolby Surround Sound main theater. When I went online to buy the ticket for a 7:30 show, there was not a single seat that was showed as vacant on the screen. Now, I ended up running a little bit late, so I ended up going to the 8 o'clock one. And the 8 o'clock one, when I looked on the computer screen before I left the hotel, it showed that there were about, let's say about 30 to 50 seats left at about a 150 person theater. But it was right down the street. So I just went down I went up the hill to the Summit AMC. And when I got there, it was the same grid. When I walked into the theater, when the movie started, there were 24 people plus me made 25 out of easily 130, 140 person theater. Maybe even been 150. I didn't count the top. I didn't count the disability rows. I deliberately, when I walked in, I was late for the 7:30, early for the 8. I deliberately sat in a seat that said that someone else had bought that ticket, and because I wanted someone to knock me out and see if someone showed up, and no one did. And I don't know where they're getting these numbers from, because the earlier showings, even earlier that day, the 4:30, the 6, the 6:30, those had like 3-5 tickets. And then the later shows looked like there was a bunch of people, but there was no one. Now, when I left, I peeked into the other showing that was showing, because I left the movie early. I couldn't stand this movie. It was a piece of crap. We'll get into that later, why I left and when I left. But I peeked into the other theater that started at 8:35, I think, or 8:45, which was two screen doors over. I peeked in there. There were 11 people there.
Wow.
So,
when my
out of curiosity, I brought up my IMDb Pro. I think Script Doctor shared with me on but this is what IMDb Pro is reporting this morning.
Okay, yeah, because this is connected to Box Office Mojo now, which is what the other thing I have up, and they're still only reporting 71.4.
Yeah,
but there's another number going around now from Variety that we'll get into here in a moment.
Yeah, and I want to finish off what I was saying about the numbers.
Please.
When I was in the theater and the show started, there were 13 of us, right, including myself. By the end of the show, sometime during the middle, so other people came in and sat down. By the end of the show, there were 16 of us. So I want to be
come in the middle of a fucking movie.
I don't know, but it was really odd. And so on my way out the door, because I want to get this point out there. On my way out the door, I talked to a couple of the folks that worked at the theaters, one behind concessions, and one of the people that work as ushers, right? And I said, "Is this been the typical, movie going day?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's been about like this. It's been really light. We haven't had a lot of people in to pretty much see anything, And I literally every theater I looked at on Friday showings for this, there were less than 30 people in rooms that seat 250 plus to 300. So
just to add to that, when I saw the movie in Oslo, in the one IMAX screen in all of Oslo, in the first public screening anywhere in Oslo. Now, granted, this is a matinee screening, so it wasn't expected to be full. Right. But it was expected to have more than 20, 30 people.
Right.
And that's what it had. And this is a theater that seats, I don't know, 800 people or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 20, 30 people.
Let me say something else that I have a problem with as a financial auditor of corporations in the private sector. When I look at the breakdown numbers, the single day 29.6, 23.2, 18.6. I don't know about any of you guys, but the price I paid for my ticket was $7.25. I find it incredibly dubious that all of the totals end up to be a very exact number, 29.6 million, 23.2. Why is it this 29,611,400?
Doesn't that Friday total also add in the Thursday night?
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
Yeah.
So right there, that means that it only really made like 22 million on Friday.
No, but the point is that you cannot statistically have numbers this big that end in fucking 5 zeros.
Well, let's be real here. This is probably estimates because they're still updating this shit.
Yeah, they won't get those updates till like Tuesday or Wednesday for sure because of the Labor Day weekend. But yeah,
I'll give them
all preliminaries end with zeros.
But even if they're estimates, you round up, you round down, you get 23,150,000 or something. I mean, this is just bullshit.
You're not wrong. I get what you're saying, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because we haven't quite reached the end of the weekend yet, so they don't generally have the totals for the weekend until like middle of the day or later day Monday.
And this is very consistent, Mike. In the first couple of weeks of a film, for as long as I can remember, to get just rounded, to the nearest zero stuff. So this is not unusual.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, and I'm not saying you're not onto something, maybe, Mike. But again, I don't want to draw too much to that. Like,
all right. All right. I'm just saying. Listen, I'm just telling you.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Word of the account, from the accounting auditing perspective, in the world of financial accounting, that is a massively huge red flag.
Well, I'll give you a bigger red flag here in just a minute. But Jesse from the Crow's Nest, and also who joins us on Midnight's Edge After Dark, is here as well. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Jesse.
Pretty good. How you boys doing?
He hasn't seen the movie either. I like your shirt, by the way. But he did talk to somebody on the plane who
when I came back from Florida, I was actually sitting next to some cute chick, and she worked for Disney. I can't say her name for protection purposes. But she just told me everything I already knew, and everything we talk about here is legit. So when everybody thinks that we're just going on rumors and assumptions, no, this is exactly what they're doing. So I was told this directly, pretty much.
Well, if you
I was also told that
is what they're doing.
They do.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They do have a lot of feedback with the people who work there, and they basically green check mark or red X things. And even if they red X things, they don't like with all this woke stuff. It still ends up in the movie.
Well,
can you elaborate on the green X or red X things? Exactly what does that mean?
It's just like back in the day where you know, like the ratings button, the ratings knob. Like, oh, they really like Lenny, but they don't like Carl. You know what I mean?
You're talking about like the focus
dial
groups stuff.
Yeah, they're called the dial groups is what they used to.
Yeah, but they're not like, you know, when you go in and do surveys and they use outside people or try to get a good sampling, they just use intercompany people.
Yeah.
But with the real estate thing is how they push up all these numbers, because they just buy properties that are foreclosed and they hold on to them, so they're massively wealthy.
Right. And as we get going here, I'll definitely want you to chime in with anything that seems relevant to this. But I wanted to really show this to Mike, because we've got a newer number from Variety. This came in just a couple hours ago. They're claiming now that it's a $90 million weekend with 75.5 million.
Okay.
That's quite a vast difference from 71. That's 4 million. I mean, that's a big number, really, if you ask me, especially right now. So there's your accounting difference right there, Mike. I mean, how did they kind of?
I think they're doing the estimate of the 22 million per day type of thing and then rounding up.
Well, to me, this is my point: is this would be a closer number to the actuals, right? Because that was what I was saying with like Box Office Mojo. They may not have updated any of that shit yet. So, but according to this now, this is where we're at. It made 74 million or 75 million. Sorry.
I'm still really surprised it made that number, because me and my colleagues at work, we went to go see it for the matinee. And I just made a joke asking the manager, because him and his small staff of like 4 other people were working. And I asked him, like, how much is the theater taken from these ticket sales? And there's like saying they'll be lucky if they get 10 to 15%.
Well, the reason I bring this up, Mike.
Well, I'm not done yet, because this is what I told.
Right.
I said, if me and my party, we each buy 18 to 20 bucks worth of concession, can we just see the movie for free? And he's like, deal. So that's what happened.
Wow.
And we were the only
Holy
ones.
shit.
We were the only ones in the IMAX theater that time.
He's
it was
a
6 of us.
smooth operator.
Well, I just wanted to bring this up to Mike, because the discrepancy, like usually when, you know, there is a little bit of a difference between, you know, what they're saying and then when we get the final numbers, but it's never this vast, right? Like it's maybe 1 million off, if that. Like,
not always. I've seen Variety make some bummers like that before.
20 million bucks is a lot of money to not explain where it's coming
from. Well, not 20.
Right?
That's only 4, but still, it's the point. It's that big of a difference.
You said 75 to 90.
Well, now they're saying 90 for the entire weekend. Like they're talking.
That's finishing off today. Yeah.
Yeah, with today. So they're estimating that it'll make another whatever.
Now,
another
is
20-ish.
Is that typical business behavior to add in your projections as part of your profits already, or is that counting your chicken?
No, it's kind of what they've been doing all weekend with this movie anyway. I mean, it's...
Well, no, the box office usually tends to do those overestimates for just to get people to drum up, you know, excitement and go to the theater. So, like, this is kind of old hat at this point for me, at least from my perspective.
But Mike, like, I mean, this is a 4.
This is crap, man. I mean, I can't. I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to say, oh, well, this is what Hollywood always does? I mean, this to me is exactly why I closed my office, my accounting and tax office in Santa Monica that I had, because there was just so much bullshit shenanigans that I would see, and I just refused to do it. And again, as an account, part of being an auditor is statistics and understanding the correlation between time and money. And then when you have, I mean, maybe I see they were saying it's over the weekend. So what? It only includes Friday, Saturday. I think Thursday.
No, it's Thursday to Monday.
I mean, this is alarming. This is alarming at a minimum. I mean, okay. So if I put the marketing hat on of Hollywood, it's old hat script, and that's just what they do to try to generate hype, to get some momentum, to keep this thing going. However, in terms of the veracity of truth, of integrity of the numbers, I don't believe any of this crap. And I don't believe it in also because I spent about an hour deciding which showing I was going to go to and which theater. And I saw two theaters on my computer screen in Birmingham, and they were both empty as frack. And when I walked up to the front, and when I walked up to the box office and they put the things up on the screen, I saw the seats that they said that were sold out that I couldn't sit in. I bought a ticket for where I wanted to go, and no one showed up. No one showed up. And, sometimes when you're an auditor, you do that. That's why audits are field audits. The management gives us their numbers of what they think they're doing for sales, like when they need lines of credit, they need financing. And you know what we do as auditors? We go and sit in the restaurant and count number of patrons at lunch, dinner, evenings, that type of stuff. You do a real life reality check, and you compare it statistically against other things. It just all my. I mean, literally, like mentally as an accountant.
Okay, well, I just want to bring this point up though too, because Jarrett Burnett says this, and so did Paulie said that because he even said, when he first went in there was nobody in there, but then slowly the crowd came in, and
that's awesome though.
And that's fine. And I want to also point out we're in the middle of this where they're only allowing so many people in the theater at a time, right? Like so.
In different demographics too. That's the other part, right?
Yeah.
It's not that same everywhere. Like, granted, right. I saw Matinee, so I didn't think there was going to be many people in there to begin with, anyways. But
Jared, I was in the largest city in the state of Alabama at the Knights' Best News Theater, and there was no one there.
I'm trying to find it because he also.
I think I have a hard time comparing statistical results against what happened at a theater in the greater Los Angeles, Hollywood metropolitan area, because I would expect the numbers to be good there.
But then he does point out here again when I'm trying to find it here. No, I can't find it, of course. Here it is. Okay. He says, even I don't put it past Disney, though. That's the thing is like, look, I really wish I had seen the film because it's like there's such a push and pull on both sides of the, fence here from our close circle of friends here, it seems like. And I'm like the only one who was like always kind of like, yeah, it looks like it might be fun. I never really kind of hung anything up on it. Right.
I wanted to see this movie until I saw the trailer.
Right. And with you, Jesse, I wanted to see it because I love Kung Fu movies. I didn't think it was going to be anything,
I went to see this movie because I trust Paulie and Robert Meyer Burnett, and they liked it. And I went and saw it, and I walked out before it was over.
I wanted to see this movie before I found out who was writing the script.
There's going to be a diversity of opinion, which we can get into why the movie sucked at some point if you want, and all that.
Well, yeah,
we'll get into that later.
White bread.
But I was say I think there's a more detailed breakdown here. Let's see here. That's the other thing was the Rotten Tomatoes score seems off the charts too. But again, I want to bring up the point though. Are we looking at this from the wrong perspective? Could we be like? Because here's the funny thing I think is kind of funny about this, and this is what I'm saying. Like, could we be looking at it the wrong way as a sense that maybe they did make this much money. And it is a triumph at the box office for a movie like this that nobody expected to do this well. In fact, it did better than Black Widow, basically, in so many ways. But, the thing is they're not really boasting the facts that they should be in the headlines. It's almost like these headlines were pre-written because they knew, if anything, it was going to break the Labor Day weekend total, no matter what.
Yeah.
Because the movie that they had to beat is almost 15 fucking years old.
Yeah.
Because historically, nothing opens up well on Labor Day because there's always too much shit going on. And that's when people stop going to the movies for the summer. Like that's usually the beginning of the dead period until Christmas and Thanksgiving time.
Well, and this was competing with here in the United States. It was competing with the college football season restarting. It was competing
that's what I mean.
with.
You've got school, you've got college football, you got regular football going, you've got the weekend
holiday based around being outside.
Yeah, I was gonna say a holiday where most people take a vacation, so they're not going to movies. And like I said, the last movie that made any money on this weekend was Rob Zombie's Halloween back in 2007. It made $30 million. They knew this movie was going to make more than that. So that's my point is, were these headlines pre-written? Did they fuck themselves here? Kind of like they did with Black Widow?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still surprised. I was of the opinion that it was going to be, between 25 and 30 million. I didn't think, because that was what the average was for other movies of the weekends at that time. Like people just weren't really going. But I was shocked to see that they're averaging estimate of basically 20 million a day between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's like, that's really surprising. And then I'm hearing, on Twitter, some people have gone to packed theaters, usually in the more East and West Coast areas, and people who are in more of like, the rural or central time zone are saying that, things are kind of sparse. So it's kind of weird, but it is what it is, man.
Because no matter what we say, history is going to show that this movie made $90 million this weekend, right? No matter what we fucking say.
Right.
So let's give them that benefit, and let's just say, well, why did you fuck yourselves then by just trying to claim it? Oh, it beat the Labor Day record. Big fucking deal. That's like trying to say like some 6-foot guy beat some 3-foot nothing guy in basketball 1-on-1.
Like, can I ask a question? I mean, maybe this is a silly one to ask. This movie's already trending down, right? I mean, you know, you had the premiere plus Friday that came in at 29.6, right? Then you had it fall off $6 million on Saturday to 22.2.
Yep.
Then you had it fall off 20% more to 18.6. So what makes them think that from 71.4 million, Monday's going to be such a big number that's going to push it over 90 when it's already trending downwards?
No, that's a very good statistic question because you're right. It usually if a movie is popular, it trends upward a little bit, and then granted, Sundays usually do have like a little bit of percentage drop normally, and then Monday it's a bigger drop and it kind of flatlines until you get back to that Thursday Friday thing again.
Well, actually, it went on an upward trajectory if you don't count the Thursday preview here. Because if you take out the 8.8 million they got, it would have made 21 or just over 20 on Friday. Then it went up for Saturday, actually.
And that's kind of typical, yeah. And then it went down for Sunday,
but not very much actually. That's not a bad fall but plus we have to keep in mind there was a holiday for the next day, and they knew that, right? Like, yeah. So that's where I'm sitting here saying is like, okay, let's just fucking take it at face value that this is what they did. So why are they boasting all this other stupid shit when they could be boasting some shit that's actual real news?
Well, here's the thing, and this is probably the fight that we need to reconsider. Are we gonna pay more attention to how a film opens? As far as, record setting or whatever, or are we going to pay attention to the lifetime of that film and its earnings, which seem to be a more important number, right? Because so far you would be hard pressed to show me that Black Widow's made a profit. Cruella definitely didn't make a profit. Jungle Cruise hasn't made a profit. I mean, you're going to be hard pressed to show me where these films have made a profit, regardless of whether or not they're day and date releases or if they're theatrical only, right? Right now, I mean, Free Guy's getting more play and in China than it is in the United States, but they're only going to get 25% of that box office revenue, rather than in the States where they make more money, or North America, I should say, as a percentage usually with new film releases. So it's just I'm hard pressed to come up with a reason why we should not also pay attention to the length of these films' legs, because nothing's had legs, and I think a script would agree. I anticipate this thing's going to fall off a cliff 67, 68, 69%, just like every other thing that's trended from these big openings to, that's going to hit the basement the second weekend. Don't you think?
It's no Home Alone culture.
Well, no, but it's script. Don't you think that because of the way trends are working right now, that this thing, its second weekend, is going to be a considerable?
Well, I think it'll be very telling. I think probably right, culture. As Rubber Band Man says here with a $1.99 super chat. Yeah. Second weekend always tells the truth. Just wait. And we're right. Like, there's not much we can really say about it now, other than most of what we've said, because until next weekend we won't know. But that's the thing, is that's the true experiment here. Because we know what happened to Black Widow its second weekend, clearly, because it was on streaming. Now this movie isn't, so this actually has a chance to have some legs.
To have a second
if it's over a 50% drop, that's not going to be a good sign for Disney. I think they'll probably be lucky if they got 48% drop is probably what they're.
Well, to be fair, I think
look, even if I'm correct in that they're lying a little bit or lying a lot now, they can't lie forever. So as Culture aptly points out, the lifetime actual take is going to be the most important thing that carries the day, because that's going to say whether or not they really, making money is, when people say, oh, it made this amount of money. No, it didn't. Make is what comes in against what were your costs. And the budget for this was very significant. I don't know. Do you want
150 estimate plus 300 million on supposed marketing that I did not see.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I found 2 posters. One of them was in a bus terminal. The other one was on the side of a bus, and I haven't seen any billboards or anything else anywhere in the GTA, Mississauga, Scarborough, any of those places that
I don't know
found.
about
You know
Disney. I
where
don't
I've
know about
seen
Marvel, but I can tell you in other industries, marketing expense does include. There's a lot of companies that their marketing expense is buying tickets for their own properties, and they write it off. And
I remember
Yeah.
those. Yep.
they do that in publishing, in books, for instance. I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
if you, for instance, look at Scientology, because here's like the thing with Scientology, that's a great case study because you have so many people that were at really, really high levels that have defected and started speaking out at exactly what they were doing. And one example here is like this huge sci-fi book, the one that they made that shitty movie about with John Travolta, Battlefield Earth. I mean, that it sold so many copies, and the reason for that is that like previous like head honchos in Scientology have admitted that yeah, it sold so much because we bought 9 and 10 copies ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah, it's written by the Prophet Man.
L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard. You know,
Yeah,
he's
like
such a
first,
wise guy.
and exactly. First, they mandated that every single Scientologist on the planet bought like 10 copies each or more. And of course, contrary to what they claim, it's not 30 million Scientologists. We're like maybe 100,000, maybe at most. But still,
It's a
that
small
wasn't
town.
enough. So then they, so then they still had, and today there's probably not even 10,000 true believers on the planet. Maybe not even
Andre, I'm
5,000.
still convinced that that's why John Travolta had his comeback kid period in the 90s was purely because of those people pushing. I mean,
That
No, I
and
think
then
that's. I think it was.
Tarantino.
he had
Yeah,
Pulp Fiction, but then what did he do?
Tarantino was the real comeback. But yeah, obviously at that time they had some real influence in Hollywood, obviously. But the point here was then that yeah, they made all their members go buy multiple copies. Plus, then they have different like umbrella corporations and stuff like that that also went and bought shitloads and shitloads of copies, all from places where they make it like trend and make it on like New York Times bestsellers list and everything. So I don't think it's a stretch at all that a big chunk of the movie's marketing budget would go to something like that. Like for instance, here in Oslo, the only places I've ever seen Shang-Chi, like any kind of commercial whatsoever, is like on like those commercial screens where nothing is printed, where you just like display an image and see.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the display
Yeah,
screens. That's
yeah,
in your like your
exactly.
public transit or your city walks and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
That's the
love those
only
things.
place I've ever seen it. I haven't seen a single printed poster of Shang-Chi anywhere other than in the theater itself.
Now,
I'm
along
not
with
saying
this
there
2 week
aren't
drop
any, but I
off,
haven't seen them.
do you guys think that after this 2 week drop off period that they're expecting everything to go down and stop making good amounts of money off things? It seems like they stop promoting things instantly, so all the normies just don't even realize it's in the theater anymore. And it seems self-defeating to me.
Jesse, I think it's an ongoing thing. I mean, right now we're in a cycle of disposable entertainment. There's nothing resilient about anything that's out there in the world.
It's very true.
Well, and I don't know if Script has a
Wow.
source for the promotional budget because yeah, like I just typed in the promotional thing and a lot of stories with these kind of headlines popped up.
Yeah, I know that because this is the thing. Like, okay, you've got a Chinese immigrant to Canada actor who grew up in Mississauga since he was 5 years old, who's got this big break from a supposedly hit show on CBC, and he's in a Marvel film. You would think that every town within that area would be promoting the heck out of this guy to get people to go see his film. And what's weird is that, and because I live in that general area and I can get to one end to the other very quickly, I was looking for that type of stuff because I was thinking this would be a no-brainer. You've got at least a potential of 5-6 million people that you could get rallied behind this film and go see it in their local theaters, and it was sparse. I mean, I remember when The Force Awakens debut was being built up. That was huge. I remember for Black Widow, that marketing was huge. I remember for Even all the Spider-Man stuff, that was huge. I saw nothing comparable to that for Shang-Chi, and I was actually disappointed because I'm like, why not do it? What are they should be spending tons of money on this. It's now more expensive to market a film than it is to make a film. So why am I not seeing those dollars that are obviously being spent somewhere? And I have no answer to it. It's just weird.
Elijah Snow sends me this message. She says Bob Iger says Feige is using the marketing budget to fluff the numbers to give his lawsuit ladies an angle. I don't know if
Could
Feige
work.
controls. I mean, is that possible, Script?
Oh yeah,
absolutely possible. I mean, after all, remember, Marvel Studios is the one that's going to be in charge of doing this, not so much Disney. They're going to have a part in it, but I would say this could probably have been the one thing that Chapek couldn't stop on his end with regards to this lawsuit is, okay, so I'm going to put Shang-Chi, it's not going to be day and date, and we're going to see what the numbers do. And then Feige and Iger are like, okay, well, we know this game. Let's, buy the tickets or do an ad campaign or something to try and get those numbers up to prove his theory wrong. And that may be the case in this point here. It was something that just didn't come to my mind until Saturday, actually. When I was thinking, it's like, oh yeah, they wouldn't do that. It's like, there's not as much contention on this film as there was for like Captain Marvel back in the day. But yeah, I just was not thinking like these Hollywood types, these levels of Hollywood types at that moment. I was thinking, oh, they'll let it speak for itself. They'll be a good test of their quality and their trajectory. Yeah, I can't speak. But yeah, it is what it is. It's like this could actually be a point for Scarlett Johansson's side on the lawsuit, sort of thing, potentially. It just all depends. I mean, the one thing that Chapek's going to have a hard time doing is saying, well, let's do an audit on those receipts and then risk that being exposed in arbitration. Or if it doesn't just stay, or if it escalates out of arbitration and manages to go back to a civil court, that would be bad news for a lot of people. So it's
because this is bad news for Chapek. If here Iger and Feige just may, we're not saying that they have, maybe this is all on the records, but maybe they fortified the numbers in a way that's going to end up screwing Chapek. They're like Possibly. They are game planners too.
If anything, this will be more of a setback than a real wrench in his goals, I think. It just all depends on what is, because again, as I said before, Chapek doesn't care if he's loved, he just cares about being right. So if he's willing to say, you know what, screw the arbitration, let's go to civil court and let's actually see it for sure. It will hurt his reputation and it might even hurt his standing within the company to a degree. But if it ends up exposing something else that proves him right, then he can, ride that ego stream all the way to his own bank, because he'll get a golden parachute, he'll probably get ejected, he'll probably do something else, but he could always say, I exposed the truth of Hollywood, I did this, I did that, I was right, and you can either keep me around and I'll keep us, and you can follow what I believe is right on the board and with the stockholders, or you can eject me and go back to the fake aspect of this company and watch your money slowly dwindle away. This is just a speculation on my part. I don't know if that would ever happen, but it's one of many different possibilities I would expect.
Yeah, because here's the thing though, that let's just say, for the sake of argument, that these box office numbers, and I know Mike, Mexican Idol Man, who is also a legit accountant and auditor, agrees with this, that it looks as though the box office numbers may have been fortified. The money for that, they have to come from somewhere. And Disney, the corporation, even if it's technically from Marvel, ultimately it's taken from Disney coffers.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think that Disney shareholders would be overtly happy with that, because here they now go and say that, whoa, Shang-Chi has made so and so much money at the box office. Wow, amazing. But when the fiscal quarter ends, where's the money for that?
You know, I got to bring something up real quick because it's been bugging me for like a month now. I am a Disney shareholder, as are a lot of people around here. Now, how many shares do you actually have to have for them to care about your opinion? Because it's a massive amount. So it's
Millions.
a massive enough of amount where you're probably already one of them. Hence, you're already in the little boys club. So it's all just a circle jerk once again. So
Yeah, there's
the
various
shareholder
tiers.
thing, as a shareholder, you have zero opinion or say. They don't care what you think any more than anyone else.
Yeah,
No, they consider you a burden, if anything.
Yeah, 2020 saw Iger, somebody named Kathy something, and I think Braverman having significant portions of stock, but those only rose to below 1%, if memory serves. You know, and that's with over 1 million to 2 million shares, right? The institutional investors are actually hold the greatest control. BlackRock is one of the 3 top holders for Disney institutionally. So that's based on 2020 stuff. I don't know the 2020.
Well, yeah, a rule of thumb for investing, especially in studios, is if you're going to buy shares, you buy around $1,000 worth just to start with, and then from those dividends, you use that to buy more, and then you just work your way up. Because once I think you get past 10,000 shares, or at least $10,000 worth of shares, if it's a reasonably priced, $60 to $80 per share market, that's when you actually start to get a little bit of attention, but it's in another tier. And then as you escalate further and further up with more and more shares, you then rise to another level and another level and another level to the point where you would eventually have a voice within the controlling interest of the company, which takes a very long time and a lot of money. But usually, like, I know a lot of stockholders that they just buy 1 share. It's like, okay, you got 1 share, but you'll never have any influence over a company for that. You are considered disposable. But if you buy,
I'm still low level, and I got 7,500 in Disney. They
yeah,
don't give a
that's
shit about
not
me.
bad.
That's like $5 to them.
Yeah, it is chump change, sadly, to them.
It is. It's nothing to them.
And again, I mean, it's just they've put themselves in positions to be under investigation multiple times, for reporting issues, and again, I mean, this is Mike's forte, but I don't put it past any company utilizing any form of M&P methods, marketing and promotion. They're gonna use whatever tools they have in their toolbox, and if part of that is gifting tickets to people or gifting showings to groups or whatever, I wouldn't put it beyond them to do so. I mean, there you are. So I don't know. It's just it's a thought. I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. If it really turns out that between M&P and the actual budget of this film end up being over $400 million, this film will never be profitable. Ever.
Well, that's the thing is, we know Black Widow was around 200.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This we can only estimate because they have not released the budget for it.
Right.
We're going off of what Script knows as far as the marketing budget. I don't know where you got that number from, Script, but
that's the average, because again, it's usually a minimum of double the production of the cost for marketing minimum, but then they have to make 3 back to see profit.
I'm gonna say in this case, I don't think they spent that much on the marketing budget. And if they did, they put it all in this gold opening shit. Because that's the thing I think that really
would have been allotted. Yeah, the budget would have been allotted of that number. Yeah.
Because right now, I'm going to tell you this. This is what's bothered me about this whole thing going back to Black Widow, Captain Marvel, and all this bullshit. Disney could give these fucking tickets away and write them off on their fucking taxes. Yet they're expecting all these other like charities and shit to basically just give them free fucking money. And anybody who's questioning, could they pad the numbers or not, and going like, you guys are lying and you're full of shit. Like, the fact that they do this to me is enough proof that you should be just like, no, that's the fucking truth. They're padding these numbers, and it's bullshit. Because I don't see any other movie out there doing this, right? Like, I don't understand where Marvel keeps getting away with this shit.
Not just any other movie, but
too big to fail.
But not just any other movie, but any other company or studio. That's really what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
That's more so. Yes.
They think it's so big that no one's going to ask questions. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, because I mean, traditionally, especially for a tentpole film, your marketing budget is equal to or double that of your production budget. and this is a Marvel film, so they're at least going to be doubling the production budget for marketing. And what threw me off is the fact that usually you can kind of see those dollars. Like I remember Infinity War and Endgame marketing was crazy, absolutely crazy. Even with Avengers marketing as well back in 2012, Ant-Man marketing was pretty big. Black Panther marketing was obscene, and that was a lot of cash thrown around. But here it threw me off. It's like, okay, I know that on average this is probably going to be $150 million Marvel film, because again, there's only like two cast members that are really expensive. That's Tony Leung and Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
Because everybody like Awkwafina's probably making a little bit more than Simu Liu, and yeah, that's not a whole lot on their bottom line for the film.
I guess my question is there more special effects in this movie than there is in Black Widow?
No,
because I mean, Black Widow wasn't really that CGI heavy.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, like Chinese Wakanda wasn't cheap.
That's what I mean, because Black Widow didn't have a shit ton until the end,
there's no headless snarf in Black Widow. The only thing that was like missing head was the poor stuntman who played Taskmaster, who got decapitated behind the scenes and had like the head of Olga Kurilenko put on instead.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Outside of the big,
but
falling
just in terms of like
effects
at the end of Black Widow, animals and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that there's way more location shooting in Black Widow compared to Shang-Chi, and location shooting is very expensive.
I guess
Shang-Chi had 2 locations, and their basically their Tao Lo was a field in New Zealand, I think, which was like pennies on the dollar, if anything.
I guess what I'm getting at here is there any? We're in the realm of believing. Okay, is it possible that maybe Shang-Chi even cost $175 million to make? Is my point.
Maybe. I mean, it depends on. I mean,
sure. I mean, look. I mean, they're filming film locations.
Because I'm looking at it this way: if they spent the same amount of money to make the movie itself as they did Black Widow, and you just take out the factor that fucking ScarJo made $20 million goddamn dollars. Yeah. Exactly my point. Yeah.
No, I would say it'd be pretty close, if not, maybe that a little discrepancy of maybe 15-10% difference. But
I completely buy that it cost them 150 to 180 million based upon production budgets of other films that we've covered. Tom, when we've looked at the numbers, and I've seen those movies and I've seen this movie, you would if you do see this, when you see it, if you see it, you would have. I'm very confident you would agree that it's going to be
just what I'm seeing from the trailers. I feel like there's a shit ton more CGI in this movie than there would have been in Black Widow. That's what I'm seeing, like with all the fanciful shit. Going to the Chinese Wakanda.
Plus, you have a variety of fight scenes where there's a ton of. I'm sure there's a ton of editing work, and they have to.
The editing of this film was choppy.
Yeah, the rendering. I mean, I'm not saying they got. It was a good job, but I'm just saying there was a lot of intricate fight scenes and action scenes.
Chicken Rabbit wasn't cheap either.
I mean, the thing is that a lot of the stuff that they were doing was more tight shots, not wide. And tight shots are easier and cheaper to produce and post than a wide shot. There's a lot of stuff that was isolated, I would say, in shot wise, deliberately so to keep the budget down.
Yeah, I think the technical discussion of the movie is different than the quality of the script. Is a whole other discussion that we can get into.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is, what was the budget of like Black Panther? I feel like that would be more along these lines than.
Black Panther was close to 200, wasn't it?
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I keep saying, because there's a lot of CG stuff in this movie, it seems like. I haven't seen it, so I can't.
Well, here's the thing. It's different again, because for Black Panther, their entire end fight between him and Killmonger was CG pretty much when they're
almost 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not the case in this. What we have here is there are at least 2 fights between Shang-Chi and Wenwu it's just them, and it's a composite background, which means that it's intimate. It was done on a closed set, if anything. Even some of the more fantastical stuff is done on a closed set. It's only like 2 cast members involved. There's a lot of close-ups of just individual actors with 2 other people, and then there's just general composites of larger crowds, especially in the Tao Lo at third act scene. all of that stuff is alarmingly a lot cheaper than having, say, a computer animated Scarlett Johansson skydiving through broken debris and extreme wide shots as they're falling towards the ground. Like, that's way more expensive to do. This one here, it's shot tight, it's shot close. It's clearly done to show that this was not done outdoors. It was in a closed set. Maybe they were even using some of the stagecraft technology on it as well. But a lot of the set pieces are really intimate. They're not big, grandiose things.
Well, that's the thing. It sounds like it was shot more like The Raid and John Wick and stuff like that, as far as the fight sequences go. Than it was shot
they
like
wish
a
they
Bruce
could
Lee.
equal The Raid.
Well, right, yeah, I've heard not that great. That's the other thing that's kind of turned me off now.
Yeah, Script brought up a very good point with those extreme wide shots, like skydiving through debris. That's like having a CGI artist paint every single thing you see on screen. Now, in a fight scene where they're using their superpowers, they have apps now you could get off of Instagram for like pennies on the dollar that do the exact same special effects. So it's like there's a very big disconnect between when you go for the big and when you're just going for small individual character model things, because nowadays that stuff is like child's play that you could do at home, but that big stuff, no, that's money.
So how many grandiose like CGI shots are there in this movie, though? I guess is
not many.
Okay,
not many at all.
We'll give it the benefit of the doubt. 150 went way too long on that than I had anticipated. But one thing I don't want to wait too much longer on is some of these super chats. I want to get to these. We're going back to some classic ones here from where we left off. Primer sent in $5. Says, why watch an uninspired, overblown imitation of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon when you could watch the superhero film Crouching Tom, Hidden Turtle? You know what? I'd rather see that anyway. I'm not a big fan of the wire foo stuff.
I hate it. I can't stand it.
I didn't really care for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I appreciate it for what it was. I respect it for what it was, and the grand.
I enjoyed that movie. I'm going to call the Shang-Chi movie Crouching Asian Hidden Plot.
As far as fight scenes go, I don't want to see no wires. I don't want to see choreography. I don't want to see anything, because anybody who's seen a choreographed movie fight and then either been in a fight or seen a real fight, there's no comparison. It's stupid. It makes all movies look like trash.
Well, can I make one caveat to the choreography? Because one thing with Jackie Chan is he started as a dancer, as script will tell you.
Yeah.
And his whole thing with his his fights are always very highly choreographed. And
if they're not, he'll kill somebody with all.
But here's the thing, though.
The beauty
those
of
fights
Charlie
aren't pretending to be anything other than entertainment. They're not pretending to be real fights.
Exactly.
They're very obviously there to entertain.
Like Rumble in the Bronx.
That's what I'm saying. It is more
Dragon.
like a dance. That's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
And you appreciate how much goes into the construction of what Jackie does with those whole scenes, and going with the whole wide shot thing. How many Jackie Chan movies do we have? A dozen wide shots where you see him do an entire fucking act of his whole fucking routine in that entire wide one shot. All the time almost, because he makes sure that, because I know he's sitting there going, you make sure you get this all in one shot so people know that I'm doing this all in one shot, because that's the important part, right?
Yeah, he's still doing that in Drunken Master. Then he was a little older at that time.
Yeah, he did that in Gorgeous, the comedy drama where he's fighting actually a stunt guy who sadly passed away recently. This big wide shot in like a recycling factory, and it's this really cool fight because it's all like it's a locked camera. They're doing it right on screen. It's there's no speed up. There's no quick cuts.
Yeah, and Bruce Lee also started as a dancer too. That's true. Or at least
Adrian Paul.
They started dancing. I think Jackie Chan did a little bit of acrobatics as well. But he was primarily a dancer, and he didn't learn any actual martial arts until he started getting into the acting side of things. That's when he started learning, like, I can do these types of martial arts moves, but he was never formally trained or anything.
So
it was all about how cool can you make it.
Until he actually started hanging out with like Bruce Lee and getting to be one of his underlings, so to say, he never did martial arts.
No.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he has this big documentary that came out, I think, in the 90s that talks about his career, and he's like, He to this day still says, I'm not really a martial artist. I just like to do cool moves that happen to coincide with martial arts. It's different. He said, if you put me into a fight, I'm not going to do well. And that's true, because he's big on choreographing it and everything. But he's also one of the few guys that even to this day still works out a lot to stay in shape. And he's like, God, be in his 60s, right? At least.
Jackie Chan. Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, but like,
Yeah.
if not even 70s by now.
They're close,
And
yeah.
I'm with
He
D. Bud
looks
Martin
good.
here. I can watch Bruce Lee chucking all day long.
When Bruce Lee was surrounded in that karate school and he drops down to the ground with the nunchucks and he starts breaking everybody's ankles and their feet and their legs,
Yeah,
I'm like,
I love
that's
that
the
shit.
smartest guy
Oh,
ever.
That's the best shit.
Yeah,
I can watch that shit all day long. See, all right. Anyway, we're moving on here because we got so many super chats and we appreciate it, guys. And I don't want to get too far behind. STR Red Wolf is next. Says the couch was a better investment. You saved money for the DVDs of the movie. Put this towards Tom's food fund. Well, thank you so much, STR Red Wolf. I'm sure I'll be fine either way. I was just, it's just one of those things that it needed to be done, and it's just like, it's one of those purchases that you're just like, I don't want to spend this kind of money on something, but I need it, kind of thing. So yeah, but thank you so much for that, STR Red Wolf. John Apocalypse comes in next with that's a £4 and 49. I don't know what's left over after that. Says, you guys talked about how Chapek wanted this movie to bomb, so why inflate the box office numbers? This just looks to be getting Ant-Man numbers. You're not wrong, John, and that's what I think these guys were getting at earlier with the whole, could Marvel be behind the whole inflation side of things, right? Like,
and that's certainly more likely.
The thing is even though Chapek may be playing some 4D chess, the other side knows how to play the 4D chess a little bit better, especially
exactly. They've played that game. They know how to play that game too.
Plus, if you're going to take a dive in a boxing match, make it look real.
There's that also.
Yeah, that's very true. And Eternals, I think, is going to be the real kicker here, right? Like, that thing is.
I know, and it's so boring.
They're going to have such a hard time making that. Like, I'll be real. Even if about a little bit of this numbers is fudged for Shang-Chi, I think that's what I was getting at earlier. Is I think they kicked themselves in the ass and they shouldn't have, because I had a feeling this movie was going to do a little bit better than everybody was kind of planning it was.
Or hoping it was, let's be honest.
Let's be real. Yeah, like my point is like there's very little that like is going to turn people off with this film up front, because what is there to turn people off until you know more about it, right? Shang-Chi is not a popular character with the masses. Nobody knows who the fuck he is. Most people enjoy Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee type movies, so there's that plus. So it's going to go with that gimmick, right? It's going to work. I mean, we're at a time period where the superhero movie needs a little bit of a shake up. And this is I'm not totally surprised if these numbers are mostly legit, right? Like, I can see people wanting to go see this movie. The problem I have here is consistently more so I'm hearing that people are not going to full pack theaters. They're not seeing a bunch of people in this movie theaters when they're going to see this. And I have yet to talk to anybody in my personal life outside of YouTube who has seen this fucking movie. That's the thing that I don't understand. Is usually, at least with these Marvel movies, I talked to at least 2 or 3 of my friends who are into Marvel movies who see these movies opening weekends usually. And there's like zero interest in seeing this fucking movie, and even less in the Eternals.
So that's like they're definitely in a dead zone. I mean,
that's where I don't believe these numbers. Anyway, sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
You can't have any graph that just goes up, 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 up. It doesn't work like that. You have to have your peaks and valleys, and we're in a major valley. It's like a plateau flipped upside down. That's how I feel. Eventually, there's going to be a good Marvel movie. It's probably going to be when they release either X-Men or Fantastic Four, if they get the casting right. Okay, all right.
I think Spider-Man's going to do
Dr. Doom a blogger.
I mean, but that's the thing, is they're not shooting off the headlines like they should be. Shang-Chi, Marvel gets people back into theaters, like huge pandemic opening, shit like that. That's what these headlines should be saying, right? Theaters aren't dead after all, stuff like that. Instead, they're boasting that it's the biggest Labor Day opening ever. Big fucking deal. Like I said, that's like some fucking 6-foot guy bragging that he beat some 3-foot nothing guy in one-on-one basketball.
You're referring to low-hanging fruit headlines.
Exactly.
Like what's the easiest marketing angle we can get away with that won't be questioned? Well, it's biggest opening.
And that's where I'm curious if these headlines were all pre-written before this weekend even fucking happened. And they went and, again, like with Black Widow, shot themselves in the fucking foot, because they could have boasted more on the other end of Black Widow on like, look, this is how this worked out. And, that was not bad numbers for where we're at right now, because only a few movies have managed to reach these kind of movies in this this whole thing that I don't want to talk about because we're not doctors and we're not giving medical opinions into questions. We're just talking about entertainment, YouTube. But yeah, like, you know, movies, the only other movies that have made any money so far, and that's even questionable, are Fast and the Furious. And what's the other one? I can't even think of it now.
Suicide Squad?
No, that didn't
No,
make money.
Suicide Squad did not
No,
make
that
it.
bombed.
A Quiet Place 2.
Quiet Place 2 did make money.
Oh. See, and I don't know anybody who even cares to go watch that movie.
And it's already out on video. And that's the other thing is people know this movie's going to be on Disney Plus in 45 days for the most part, too.
Yeah.
Less
Well,
now,
I think that the
actually.
people that wanted to see it, they would have gone see it anyway, though.
Yeah,
Well, and let's talk about the piracy issue real quick.
sure.
There is none.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's not
I
good.
don't even see the desire for this in the piracy community.
Yeah,
That's actually kind of
you didn't see anything in Tortuga, let's say.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Yeah.
you can go and you can look and see what the highest downloaded things are. And it's not in the top 3, I'll tell you that much.
See, that's
Well,
precisely why I
maybe
don't
people
pirate
have standards now. Now, when they're used to you getting the movie in 4K before you would ordinarily get it in theaters, and then you have like a telesync now. Maybe it would have been higher if there was like a decent copy to get. But here's like the thing: by going theatrical exclusive, you will by default curb piracy a bit, since the only thing you'll be able to get are rotten telesyncs. Meaning like a
that has
handheld
never
cams.
stopped a popular movie from spreading wide if it wants to be seen, right? Like, if people
Yeah,
want to see
well, this is true, but maybe like pirates develop standards.
or as Red Line 7 says, it's not worth pirating.
See,
Kinda
Tom
saw the
brought up
similar
something
shit
There's
with
that.
Star Trek.
if they could read and see how many people are downloading pirated movies, how do they not get in trouble?
Well, first of all, they do. There's a various levels to this, and I'll be honest. We've talked to enough people now that have talked to. They pay very close attention to this shit.
Yeah, I don't pirate anything off the internet because it's just not worth the effort.
No,
Let me
you're
put it this
pretty.
way, HBO
pretty
was
much right,
very
yeah.
well aware that Game of Thrones was the most pirated thing in the world when it was on. They were very well aware of that. And in fact, Andre and I bring up many times over that one of the reasons we didn't get Judge Dredd 2, or Dredd 2, I should say, not Judge Dredd 2. The reason we didn't get Dredd 2, mainly one of them was piracy. It's one of the few films that has actually been affected by it.
When I finally saw Dredd, I was very impressed. I liked how that was made.
Greatest comic book movie ever made, in my personal opinion.
They didn't go over the top. They did
No,
a
they
little bit, but not too much.
But in Lionsgate's eyes
realistic.
or whatever, that hurt the sales enough, and they saw that as a negative. But other times, you know, the studios pay attention to this shit because it shows the interest. It shows how much interest it is in whatever they're doing. Because even if it's, like I said, even if it's a crappy copy, if it's a big fucking movie, it'll be at the top of the download charts. And it's not anywhere near the top. And some of the other stuff that's come out lately still is, like Suicide Squad and shit, though.
Yeah.
There you go. Is it so?
Yeah, I think there's greater demand for that, to be honest.
the
That's
pirate
kinda what
ships
I was
are
getting
not
at,
in
yeah.
port. They're just not interested in your booty.
Yeah. So what you sharing here, Culture?
The most
Well, here we
taunting
go.
movies of the week. Yeah,
There we
yeah,
go.
he's number
Yep,
5.
Yep. That's what I was saying. I was going to say it went and dropped, actually, if this is current, because the one I saw, it was number 4.
Cinderella must have beat it.
Yo, Cinderella beating your movie.
No, people are talking about that on Twitter. I see more people talking about. That's the other thing. Thanks for bringing this up because I forgot all about that. I've seen more people talking about that fucking Cinderella movie this weekend than I did talking about Shang-Chi on Twitter.
Is this just like a redo of the cartoon or something? Like how many
Well, it's
Cinderellas can you
another
have?
adaptation, but this is the reason this one's all being talked about because it has the fairy godmother father
Thing.
They them.
Oh, it's a father tranny?
Something like that. I don't know. I can't say it because I'll probably get canceled.
I just want to give a shout out to
I
my.
want to misgender it.
I want to give a shout out to my favorite movie of the last 2 weeks, Protege.
There you go. And it's
There you
number
go.
2 on the. It's number 2 on the Gonna Pirate This.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's above fucking.
I'm telling you, this is crap.
It's above 2 comic book movies.
Yep.
And you know what? The movie might not even be that bad because, like, again, most of the reviews I hear, whether they're negative or positive, they all kind of still fall in that middling range because, you know, Andre, Gary, Script, Mike, all your Mike, you walked out, so I'm not going to count you in this one. But like,
why not?
Guys,
I count. I bring the average down.
It's not good, but it's not nearly that bad. I think you even said it was better than Black Widow, Andre, which none of us really hated per se. It just wasn't great.
No, I'd put it around around that level overall. I think I enjoyed Black Widow more. Probably.
I absolutely think Black Widow was a triumph compared to Shang-Chi.
And
yeah, I also think that I like Black Widow more.
And others who have talked about it in a positive light have all at least admitted that there are issues with it, right? Like, so that's the thing. Outside of the few random people that are just like, oh, so glowing about it that it can do no wrong. I mean, I still see this being at best a 6 or a 7 as far as Marvels go. You know, maybe in that.
I mean, I put it on par with Captain Marvel and Black Widow. It's right around. That's the level because Black Widow is kind of on par with Captain Marvel.
It's really on the Captain Marvel level because to me, Captain Marvel is the worst Marvel movie ever, period.
I just love this list because of how telling it is. When you look at it, you have 3 movies from the MCU, right? None of them crack top 3. Then you have Suicide Squad from DC. That did crack top 3, but it's in 3rd place. It's getting the bronze. Then way down on the list, what do you got? You got a movie starring The Rock.
Well, not only that, this is worldwide.
You got Fast and the Furious 9. The Green Knight looked like an interesting movie, probably not that great. But I mean, this is a pretty good list of movies, but the ones that you expect to be on top are nowhere near the top. It just seems like the entire popular IP market is slipping. You have Snake Eyes on there too. G.I. Joe should be huge.
Well, here's the other thing, Jesse, is Black Widow has had a really pristine version out since it came out. So that's probably the reason that's way down on the list. Otherwise, that'd probably be higher. I'm kind of surprised Fast 9 isn't higher because I think that just came out on video.
Well, again, I mean, if you scroll, I mean, this is just this last week ending, the 6th.
This is okay.
Yeah, this is the week ending the 30th. So Protege is climbing the charts.
Snake Eyes is at the top as I expected because that's the week it came out. All right.
Yeah. So it's just but this always breaks down as to like what these are, you know, and it doesn't seem to matter what the ratings are because it doesn't, you know, it doesn't put it there. But as you can see, Protege's climbing the list. You know, Stillwater had a pretty decent presentation.
That's what I kind of want to see too.
Look where Black Widow is, and F9 and Black Widow are staying, you know, lower.
Bottom,
I mean, Jungle Cruise, the 23rd. You know. So, I mean, the way the torrents work, I would have expected to see Shang-Chi.
My point is, though, I go with these more so when I consider the interest of a film, right? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's the main reason I check them.
Yeah.
To me, they show the real numbers of where the interest lies for these kind of movies or what movies are out there right now in shows. And I do check them when I can.
So still early for this. Let's give it another week or so.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but
we should get back to the super chat.
Yes, we should. Thank you so much. Martin Winter is the next one with 10 Swiss francs, I believe that is. Disney buying tickets. Do you believe this seriously? What percentage? 10% would be 15 million international, 20%, 30 million. Makes no sense. Not to mention the backlash. If only one would talk. So just stop. Here's the thing. We are analyzing all different angles here, and I feel like we've been very fair at the looking.
We're not saying that Disney has done this or this other thing. We're just saying, and even we have certified.
I mean, I'm saying because I've seen this. I've seen this.
There's red flags here.
I've seen this practice before. Have I seen it at this company and in this studio? No, I've never audited them, but I've absolutely audited other companies in other industries and similar industries, the same industry, and I've seen this practice happen before. And
you have a company that's under investigation, under 2 investigations right now, isn't it?
Under 2 investigations, one for writing off or booking up to $6 billion in profit that might not exist.
Yes, this company right now is under SEC investigation for basically creating promotional what should be promotional discounts and then booking that as revenue. Okay, so this is
Which
not
is
beyond.
exactly kind
So
of
whoever
what
thinks that
talking
we're
about
smoking
here.
crack rock and have no basis, you have no basis because you don't know. I'm not trying to instigate the chat too much,
yeah.
but I'm just saying that this is why auditors and this is why my industry exists, is to keep an eye on this type of behavior. Because when you have lots of money involved and you have people that are greedy and you have people with low ethics and integrity and there's no oversight, bad things happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, not just that, you have a lot of cooks in the kitchen with these situations too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. So yeah, Martin, I believe we're all trying to give it a fair shake. Like I said, I even tried to shift the narrative to where they're not narrative, but the discussion at least to where it was like, okay, let's say that this movie made as much as they're saying. Why aren't they boasting this other stuff instead of these other headlines? So again, still trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here, and they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot as far as I'm concerned. But again, you're more than you can have your opinion about it, and if you can prove some other things, send me some stuff in DM that'll show some different numbers. I'd be glad to look at it. Gulgo is here though. How you doing, buddy? Says I feel Mexican Iron Man rant coming on again. Andre, eSWAT, Duke Oda, Script, Culture, Tom, good to spend my morning with you and no work. Well, I'm glad you're home and resting. Hopefully you have a very great Labor Day. You know, I want to go to a barbecue, but I don't know where to go. Eddie Max of Andor says, I saw this movie, and as correct y'all are on everything else, I don't understand the negativity on Shang-Chi. Actually, Eddie Max, I think as I was just pointing out, this movie just seems to be very mixed to middling. I mean, even the negative and the positive reviews, both sides have said, there's positives on the negative side of things, and on the positive side of things says, yeah, there's things that are wrong with this film. So again, I think it's kind of more of a mid-ground than a lot of the other movies in here. And I don't think anybody so much has a problem with the movie per se as it is just what Disney's doing around it, or should I say Marvel's doing around it. Am I wrong in that?
No, I have a problem with the narrative.
No, I have a fundamental problem with the way the movie's structured and the script and how it runs. No.
I have no problem with the cast. I mean, it's just
me too.
All right, well, I guess I'm wrong on that too.
Well, no, you're just you're doing what we do at Midnight's Edge, which is that you're being analytical.
Well, I'm saying we're not so much even talking about the movie right now. We hadn't really talked about the movie yet. Like that's kind of, I guess, more.
Oh no, there's lots to talk about this movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But rabbit chickens aside,
very little of it good in my opinion.
Headless snarfs, as Andre says. Elijah Snow says this could be Feige-backed move to render Bob vulnerable to more attacks from the old guard as well. I think we may have grabbed this one earlier, but yeah, that's kind of what we had discussed.
House Atreides is next, yeah.
Yep. Rubber Band Man, we got Mike Tomlin. Did we get this Mike Tomlin one?
No, you skipped the House Atreides one above the Elijah. No.
Did I? Yep. Oh, okay. Here we are. Yep, you're right. Yep. House Atreides says, "Hail Midnight's Edge and panel. I saw Shang-Chi. I haven't been that bored that much in a Marvel movie before. How the rings works reminds me of Whiplash. Stupid." Well, there you go. There's another opinion on the matter. And
you know what the rings reminded me of? Sonic the Hedgehog, like in how they move and everything.
Oh, Gary didn't like. He said the bracelets. So.
Yep. Well, they kind of are.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looks like to me.
Well, we knew that from the trailers, honestly. But yeah.
And I don't know who wrote this one, but. Oh, okay. Mike Tomlin is the hottest coach in the NFL. Kareen, $4.99, says, I will see it today. Reviews are mixed. Some saying on par with Ant-Man, a movie I like a lot. Or I like. And I did like Ant-Man. And that's the thing, though. These guys are saying it's not as good as that.
It doesn't have the charm. Ant-Man has a certain charm to it.
Ant-Man has a charm, and the characters have motivation, all of them. There's only one character in Shang-Chi has a goal and motivation.
Who would that be?
Wenwu.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That it would be Fu Manchu or Fo Manchu.
Yeah,
he's the best character, isn't he?
He is actually, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I watched like a modern day Fu Manchu reboot with him.
We'll never get.
I'd be more interested in that.
Daka says, or Dahak 666, sorry, says, do you guys think? Or do you think we are going to get Rabbit Chicken 2? I was curious about the movie, but when the lead kept opening his mouth, forget it. I'd watch my Korean and Japanese dramas instead. What do you think, Mike? We gonna get Rabbit Chicken 2?
Well, first we've got to get hashtag Rabbit Chicken trending. And then we got to get hashtag Rabbit Chicken X, because I can't tell if it's a boy or a girl Rabbit Chicken in the movie. So we're just going to go Rabbit Chicken X.
Well, Andre says it's Headless Snarf, so you guys are going to have to fight
Yeah,
that.
Well, yeah, that's the formal name.
Headless Snarf Chicken Rabbit what thingy.
No, it's the Headless Snark. Hold on. Headless Snark is its name, but it is a member of the Rabbit Chicken family. Species. Yes, it's a rabbit.
Snarf doesn't have wings.
I'm happy with that. I agree with that one.
Yeah, Headless Snark is its name. First name Headless, last name Snark, but it is of the species Rabbit Chicken.
Yeah, there we go. There we have it.
Platonic Guardian says, I wore my Last Jedi is not canon shirt to confession, and the Filipino priest said, I like your shirt. I never saw those movies a second time. Holy crap.
That's nice.
So he confessed as
Very
well.
cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool, Platonic Guardian. I'm so glad to hear
it's a shirt that people can unite over.
And actually, I get those. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's like ironic because like we were inspired by, as those that know the history of that particular shirt, we did it because the powers that be at DC decided to mock us, and by us I mean the genuine fan base that consume all of these properties. So they made the shirt and they put them on characters, Beavis and Butthead like characters, to mock the fans. A pure divisive action. And so, just to take the piss, basically, we actually made those shirts. And those shirts are unifying in that it makes people open up and randomly confess their hatred of what was done to Star Wars. Imagine that.
Yeah, as you see right there, we got a couple of shirts. But as I was going to say, you might want to get these shirts while you can, because a few of these designs are going to be going away soon. So
how do we add a baseball cap in there?
I'm gonna ask them about that shit.
All right.
I don't know if they do caps or not.
Yeah, I tried getting tied up with
two
these guys after your recommendation, but it's not the type of site anyone can use. You have to contact them, blah 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 blah, or something.
But though the thing is we don't have the kind of problems like Drunk runs into and stuff like that. So that's what I'm happy about. And yeah, we can't directly connect them, I think, to YouTube and stuff like you're talking and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, what?
So how how do you get them to your designs?
I love the quality of my sweatshirt. My Midnight Said sweatshirt.
Amazing.
Oh my God. It has survived 100 washings and it feels like the day I pulled it out of the bag.
So yeah, get some of these shirts while you can, guys, because some of these designs are going to go away soon. So,
yeah. And the links to all of them are, of course, in the description.
And the Toxic Femme one is cool looking if you want to back up Midnight.
Well, I'll be honest with you, the Toxic Femme's not going to go anywhere, but
it's a great logo.
But we might be adding a new Toxic Femme one. I've been talking to the girls about it. So,
hey, you guys make some nice designs.
We try,
We
especially all
do our
different
best.
intros. You can pull a lot from those, from color schemes and all that.
But yeah, believe it or not, that the Last Jedi is not canon shirt was a very popular shirt. So
it was very much so.
Honestly, I think it was our most popular shirt. I can say that without any.
Oh yeah, well, for sure. And I think we did a really good sales pitch for it as well, just relaying the story of how it came to be, and that inspired mass buying.
Absolutely. Rob Altus is here. How you doing, buddy? He says none of these movies will be talked about 10, much less 20 years later. Oh yeah, I think you got a good point there. We were just talking about that the other day. I can't remember what stream it was on, but the longevity of these movies, and actually it's probably a couple streams, because I think it was when Script brought us that Cobra Kai.
The 12 rules for writing an IP. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about just like how, movies, even when they were set in a time period, like Back to the Future, like they were set in a modern time period, and they have, but they're still timeless, right? Like that doesn't stop them from transcending their era, because they didn't ground themselves so much in the modernisms, right? Like there's tons of movies that didn't age well, and it happens when you ground yourself too far into modern pop culture and you start trying to rely on jokes. Like a great example I can think of is Ninja Turtles 3. Like all the jokes in that movie are so grounded in 1993. Like, I feel like if somebody recut that movie and you look past the special effects, there might be a decent movie there if you cut out all the stupid modern jokes. Like, at that time they were modern, now they're way old. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. There's probably better examples, but
the biggest problem with Ninja Turtles 3, in my opinion, was using Casey Jones as a pre-existing character with the same face back in the past. Bothered me when I was a kid. I kept waiting for an answer on the connection here, and I never got shit.
Well, that's partially just because they're like, oh, we're paying Eli Cortez. We got to have him do something.
No, it's that part too. It's like, it's not just paying him. It's like, we need him back. And he's like, I don't want to do it. It's like, we'll get you, you'll play 2 roles, 2 different characters.
Yeah.
That's how you get an actor in.
This bugged the rest of you guys when you were kids too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of things bugged me about that movie. But anyway, I don't want to get too much into that. We'll be here forever. John Apocalypse fires in another one, says, seen Shang-Chi ads on a bunch of double-deck buses.
Oh, that's cool.
There you go.
Because he's in England there, so that's at least they're getting some advertising over there.
There you go.
We'd have those here, but they'd get hit on all the different railroad bridges.
They would probably.
And then I believe this is from, you didn't put the name here, but I believe this is from Martin Winter again, if I'm not mistaken. Says, do you believe Disney risks investor whole business backlash to buy what? 10% equals 15 million. Not much change in box office, so just stop. Again, we went through all of the reasons why they would do just that.
Yeah, and I don't know what the risk would be. I mean, they're, again, I mean, yeah, they could get into a lot of trouble, but they could get into a lot of trouble for some of the business practices and accounting practices that they've had on the studio side of things, specifically.
Of all of the shady accounting things that Disney are guilty of just by being a huge corporation, this is a pretty minor thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is a minor one.
So it seems like you guys out there,
there might even be legal. It might even be half-assed legal, like we were talking about with the book sales and shit like that earlier.
There's a reason they built the park by the Gators. Okay.
I'll give you a specific example. This is from the theme park side of things. Sometimes they use they have this process called recovery when a guest is really upset about something that's happened during the course of a vacation. So the guest gets really cranked. They go to guest relations, which is basically Disney customer service, and the guest relations person hands them a gift card, along with, other assorted trinkets to, make them feel better about whatever negative experience they had. Like, an employee slammed my kid's hand in the safety bar of a ride. By the way, these are examples I'm giving you that happen.
Got teenagers.
So they hand away a gift card. Now that gift card that $150 gift card, whatever it is that gets handed to that guest, that should be accounted for on one side of the ledger. Well, it wasn't being. It was instead being counted as income when it was utilized to purchase goods. You're not supposed to do that. It's one of the hundreds of examples that happened and that were, essentially called out by a whistleblower. But that is a practice that had gone on for many years, and as far as 16. I know, it may still continue. Don't know, but just know this: that's verifiable and has been done for a while. And again, you have that. It needs to come off of both sides of the ledger, not just count towards income. Anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah. Now I got a big question about this because now Al Capone kept 2 sets of books, and that's why he went to prison, right? Now, if you're dealing with a corporation the size of a Disney and you're doing practices like that, eventually you're never going to know what's in your own checking account, right? So you have to have 2 sets of books. You have to have the books for what you're saying you're doing and the ones that actually show how much money you have. So where's this other set of books?
Mike, that's where
they got to have one.
What's the question? No, you're getting. Hold on, Jesse. See, you're looking at it.
They have to have 2 sets of books, right, Mike?
No, not necessarily, Jesse. You're looking at set books that no, it's not like that. So, well, it can be like that, but what I'm talking about is that they have a budget and they're going and buying, and you allocate and marketing a lot of tickets. That becomes an expense. Now, then those tickets now that have gone out the door now get counted in gross box office revenues. They get counted back in the top line. That's not two sets of books. That's one disingenuous set of books.
Yeah, but
and
how
it
do
may
they
be
know
illegal.
how
Let
much
me
money they
finish. Let me
have?
finish. Let me finish. You asked the question. Let me finish. And it may be legal, but that's different than whether or not it's ethical. And the way it becomes legal is you disclose what you're doing in a footnote in the project budget or the summary or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the way it happens. Correct, Script?
My understanding of that is, yes, on the marketing side of things, if they don't tell, if they can't identify every dollar spent, then that's when people launch an investigation and get concerned. Well, it doesn't matter if it's ethical or not. If they're like saying, where's this money going? That's when, people start sweating. But again, yeah, if they wanted to do such a thing, such as allocate part of their production budget or marketing budget on certain set of transactions that they can then go through another industry and then recoup on that transaction, as long as they're saying, yes, we gave this much money to these people and they spent this money specifically on this product that we're making, and we're seeing back the revenue numbers of that. As long as there's a clear path from origin to its end conclusion, there should not be technically legally anything wrong, because they're achieving the intention. And if anything, those transactions will have a little bit of deductions that go to the people who are using that, spending that money. So, for instance, if I were to buy like $1 million worth of tickets and tell the people who are handling those tickets, please spend them at these theaters, and those theaters will get their portion of the revenue from that, and then the rest of the money will come back to me. And I would say, yes, it's incredibly unethical, but to a degree, it is also surprisingly legal.
And then there's other ends of this too. Like, the easiest way I can explain it is like this, Jesse. Let's say we're making a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you and I work on the movie, and I'm a producer, and let's just say you're an actor, right? I take you out for a bunch of hookers and blow. Now I go up to Mike, who's the
accountant.
The accountant, and I'm like, here,
the accountant.
I spent a bunch of money the other night. Chalk it up as creative expenses or something like that. That's the thing, is they'll just chalk it up as something else, but we know they don't spend that kind of money on those.
But when they do that, that would be down as one of those footnotes he was previously talking about.
Yes,
right?
kind of. Yeah.
Now they have to have, like, if let's say Mike's company was running the whole account, right? Now, wouldn't he have to have a guy whose whole job it is just to collect footnotes and like itemize them?
Yep, they're called internal audit. Yep, they're called internal audit stuff.
Now, let's say you take a bunch of these and you put them on one side of the scale, and the scale's just tipping. Where's the red flag that comes up when there's a certain amount of footnotes?
There isn't necessarily a red flag. You got to hunt and search and look and dig, and hopefully you find it, and you're not, and then it becomes a matter of disclosure.
But if you don't bring it up, it's probably not going to be brought up, right?
Well, hold on. Let's take a step back here. What we're doing is we're having an argument, or we're having a discussion about whether or not we're having three discussions at the same time. Whether it's legal is different than whether it's ethical, which is different than why is it done, which is a marketing purpose in the first place, which is designed to create hype.
I'd say throw ethics out the window.
I mean, technically speaking, it's not illegal to buy your own product if you're selling it.
Yep.
Like, if you want to sell it to a retailer, you can go in, you can sell them
exactly
the stock, and then you can go in and buy it.
It's exactly what the person said that Tom brought up on the screen a moment ago. It's creative accounting. We can argue whether or not it's ethical. We can argue whether or not we agree with the purpose or not, which is to have an inflated marketing momentum in the marketplace. To guys like Jesse like you, and guys like you and me, this is completely wrong. And it's a lie.
Well, I think the other question that Jesse was asking is
mean nothing. Like, what we think of things, our opinions and our morals, they have no legal value. It's only when they actually do something that crosses all these gray lines of overwoven laws that no one ever seems to get in trouble for anything, because they can't quite pin them on anything. Like, when does it become too much, where even the guy who's being super creative and is really good at his job, when the tax man's just like, no, we need to talk about it.
I can tell you this, that 10 to 20 million out of a 70 million box office opening is literally to Disney's overall revenues, to its overall revenues. Okay, so those of you in the chat stream, if you're making $50,000 a year as an example, we're having a debate about the equivalent of about 2 cents right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's the other thing. Think of it like the Henry Ford model. He makes cars. He pays his employees enough so that they can buy the cars. That's essentially what Disney is doing to the sense. They're basically saying, okay, the people I'm paying now are now spending the money I paid them to buy my own product.
Well, corporations been doing that forever. I mean, they offer.
Well, they've been doing that since
Walmart
Ford
and
realized you
all
could do
those-
that.
yeah,
indentured servitude is a beautiful thing.
Well, Ford and Chevy offer deep discounts and still do to this very day on their products to their employees because again,
So
that shows up on the books.
So
Well,
we've talked exhaustively for about almost 2 hours now about the issues around the movie. Are we going to get into talking
we are
about
going
the movie
to soon? Yeah, but just to kind of button up that whole thing to answer your initial question, Jesse. I don't know if there's so much a second book or another person who does that. It's the creative accounting is where they hide all the money. So that's like the initial part of your question anyway.
Well, it gives me a good answer though, because it just means that somewhere this is all down on paper.
And when you're talking
As
this kind of
stupid as
money,
that sounds.
that's what these guys are saying is when you're talking about this kind of money, the amount of money that we're talking about right now is just so minimal. It's like to them, it's like you can hide it under a rug somewhere and they're just like, I don't know where it went.
It's a line item. It's a line item.
And that's where you get
somebody
this
come in and go, wait a minute, you're talking about $20 million here. We're not talking about
Well, that's where we got bigger numbers. That's where that one lady, drew up that flag and said, wait a minute here. They're hiding $6 billion.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tom, can you bring that story up? Because that's actually really relevant here. That someone actually pointed out.
Look, Culture,
that was
that
a 3-year-old story too, right?
Billion off in Disney's numbers.
I don't have it handy. Let me go through my list of stories.
because I'm going to grab some more of these super chats if you would. That'd be great, actually. Because I want to get kind of caught up here.
Let's do that, and then we'll get into the story, or the structure and narrative of Shang-Chi itself.
We got Mr. Buttcrack Media in the chat. Love his icon. Too bad I can't bring it up right now. But saw Shang-Chi, or should I say Shang-Chi, last night. It was so boring I fell asleep. It was an average movie at best. See, that's what I'm saying. Like only a very few glowing reviews. It has its stands out there. I get it. Marvel people get pissy when you don't love and praise every damn thing about it. I think people misinterpreted that a lot of us are like the type of people who are just going to eat up everything just because it has a name on it. No, we've never done it before. I don't think why would we start now? And then Mike had to go right to the bathroom, but
there's Darius Munchausen gave us a popcorn sticker.
Why do I keep bumping over these? Okay, it's when I scroll, I see what's happening here. All right.
You get a lot of super chats.
Well, it's just that when I scroll it bumps them down. So like instead of it actually showing the whole thing. Anyway, we got a red box of popcorn from Darius Munchausen. Thank you so much, buddy. Mm-hmm. Now that I can do this, I'm just going to scroll it with my mouse.
People get heated on these topics, man.
They do. DeHawk666 says, "See Curse of the Golden Flower is a better movie." I'm trying to think if I've seen that one.
I've never even heard of that.
You missed 52 movies a year also, man.
You jumped again on me?
Yeah, after Darius, it's 52 movies, and then Slade Wilson, then Mr. Buttcrack Media, the one you just did, yeah.
Okay, it jumped a whole bunch on me then.
Maybe Script should do the super chats.
Maybe you should at this fucking point, because I'm sucking at this.
All right. Okay, so 52 movies a year, yeah. Never see a Marvel movie without a Stan Lee cameo.
Ouch. Yeah.
That's not bad advice, actually.
It really isn't. It's pretty cold.
Slade Wilson for $2, thank you. Mexican Iron Man, Hail Chicken Rabbit.
Hail Chicken Rabbit. Go Team Chicken Rabbit.
We got Mr. Buttcrack Media. Yeah, we got Tahaka666. Now we're caught up with Elijah Snow. Yeah.
Okay. $9.99. This is Feige's plan. This is what he promised the talent agencies and Johansson to back their lawsuit. He promised them leverage and got it. Feige and the agencies are more prepared than we thought. And actually, Elijah, we brought that up earlier too. Like, yeah, they know how to play this game probably much better than Chapek does. What do you say to that, Andre?
Or at least they think they do. They definitely have some cards that Chapek is not 100% used to. So
we saw this with Warner. Remember? with
Yeah, exactly. No, here's like the thing that these people, they're all really skilled people, and they're not going to go down easily. However, Chapek has been able to maneuver himself into that position to begin with. I agree with Kamran Pasha that he is someone that he's going to find some other way to strike back. Yeah, and also what Script said is that if this had worked out the way that that Chapek wanted, it would have been a decisive victory for him. And it may not be that victory. However, I also don't think that the war is completely lost then. So he's going to find some way to strike back. And it's going to be really interesting to see how. I don't necessarily agree with Cameron that he's like on a lock to win this thing. He has some very powerful enemies here, but I don't think he's out of the count just yet. I do believe that this is one person, not of the club, who may be more devious than Feige and Iger had anticipated. So I think that they're kind of like scrambling a little bit, trying to beat him. They're using every tool that they have available, but I do think that he may have more tools available.
I think you're right for the most part, Andre. The only thing is I don't know if he's going to win this fight either, but he may win the war. I think you're right, like in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. He may not win this particular fight, but there's many fights in a war.
Well, even in general, I think he might be gone by next year. I wouldn't be surprised if they try and push him out. Like I've been doing a little research.
Oh, that's what they're doing.
Disney
they're doing
history.
That nonstop. All of this is them trying to force him out.
Yeah, because I was talking to you about a few things the other day, but like I've been doing a little bit of research on Disney history, and I can't remember the name of the guy now, just went out of my mind. But before Eisner came in, there was a guy who was running Disney for a year, and they fucked him over too in similar ways. And again, it's like a big convoluted thing, and that's the thing. If you guys think that there's some money shit that goes back in this company that's even worse than this. Like there was a guy at one point who was planning on selling off the whole company piece by piece.
Oh, that was in the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah. Ron Miller. Thank you, Primer.
Yeah, Ron Miller. Right, that's the one.
Yeah, but he got blamed for it. But he wasn't the one who was going to do it.
No.
It was another guy who did it, but Ron took the fall for it.
And he was extended Disney family, FYI.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. This is not. It's almost like history, almost kind of repeating itself again in a weird way.
Hey, just because you got the name don't mean you got the fucking brain, right?
Well, actually, he was not too bad, but he just got fucked over, kind of, sort of, is from what I'm seeing here. But I got to go deeper into it. He was Disney's son-in-law. That's right. Yeah.
You ever make a short video on that?
Not yet, but I was just kind of starting to research this shit because I'm like, this sounds familiar. Like we've seen this before.
It sounds like a video worth making, though.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to dig into it a little more than I have already. Because there was a few things I threw at Andre, like, oh yeah, next time we remember this and remember that. Yeah. So anyway, moving on.
Super Nate
is next. Okay, good. Sorry, just got in, so not sure if you've talked about it, but what's your thoughts on Venom 2 getting pushed up to October 1st? Oh, so it got moved again? Is this new news, or is this what it was moved to last? It's been moved.
They were saying that earlier in the chat when the show started.
Oh. Okay.
So it's probably some new news.
Let me see. Yeah, just an hour ago.
Wow.
Venom.
The movie trailer I saw this weekend had that it was said coming in October. It didn't
okay, well, you know what? I'm not surprised by this. This is another thing that was going to go on this weekend that had nothing to do with the whole ScarJo business. I think we just talked about this last week, didn't we, Andre? About how we were going to say they're going to watch this weekend to see how it goes, and we'll see whether or not a lot of these movies decide if they're going to move shit or not.
Absolutely. And personally, Venom is honestly the single Marvel-themed movie I'm looking the most forward to right now. More than Spider-Man, more than Doctor Strange. I'm looking forward to Venom.
Yeah, because there's no pressure with Venom. There's no pressure. You know, it's like you got Woody, who's going to be Carnage. He's a little old, but he's a good actor. I don't agree with him with things, you know, in the real world, but I like the man. It'll be good.
He needs to start smoking pot again.
He's going to be. I can't wait to see him as Carnage.
Yes.
Yeah, he quit a few years ago.
Well, that explains so much. He needs to go hang out with Matthew McConaughey, who just thinks everybody needs to be in the middle and chill out.
Yeah, and Carnage is PG-13. But we also have another member of the crew joining us this morning. Paulie, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, Paulie.
Happy Labor Day, everybody.
Happy Labor Day to you. How you
You're
doing?
looking fresh-faced and handsome.
Yeah.
Greetings. I'm so glad you could join us before we start talking about the movie itself.
I did
It needs
warn
an
him.
advocate.
So you guys, I'm gonna tell you, this guy's got some balls. He's coming into a firing range here.
Why?
Because he loved the film and you guys hated it. So I'm gonna just
He can love the film. I'm
I'm
not
gonna
gonna
make some popcorn.
Well, I haven't seen it, so make me want to watch it.
For the record, I did not hate it.
I know,
only
it's
thought
gonna be
was
an
a
interesting
Frankensteinian
conversation.
abomination.
So
I
Jesse
walked
and I
out
can
on
make
it.
some popcorn.
It's okay. Me and Paulie are best friends, and
It
we're
might
brothers.
be more entertaining than the movie.
Me and Paulie disagree on plenty of stuff, and we hug at the end of every
You're
day.
best friends, and you attack this man with a lightsaber in his own home.
You beat the shit
Oh
out
my
of him with
God,
a
Jesse, are
lightsaber.
you taking Paulie's side right now?
No, but you did beat the shit out of him with a lightsaber.
You showed up at his house with a lightsaber,
What?
like a
No.
Sith Lord.
He invited me into his home, and he went to the truck
Did you
and picked
have
out
your
his
cell
own light.
phone playing Duel of Fates when you
Look,
opened the
Paulie
door?
shows up. All of a sudden, I'm the bad guy.
Maybe.
All Paulie's here, the good Mexican. Okay, that's what it is. I get it. Everybody's favorite is here
No,
now.
we love you, Mike. I got you a couch. Shush.
Okay, fine.
Can you
You're gonna
hear
have
me
a back
okay?
problem though, because it's got one of those center console things. So you're gonna have to that, or you just have to recline and sleep in it that way. Anyway, next super chat we got here is Philip A. Demick, who said, right? Am I on the right path? Okay. I'm a huge Nikita fan. Still not even going to pirate Protege. In this environment, my internal monologue always is, this is the moment this story goes woke. Well, somebody has seen Protege, Philip. Mike, did Protege feel very woke to you?
No, not at all. I mean, unless your definition of woke is that it had a female lead, I mean, that's a pretty low bar. I mean, I've got a pretty, I got a pretty hot trigger finger on the woke stuff. I thought it was a fantastic film, and no, I didn't find it. I
say you
Well,
gave it
there
pretty
was sex
glowing
in
reviews,
it. There
yeah.
was, no, I didn't. Tell you what was woke was that stupid ass Shang-Chi movie I saw, and I can give you multiple examples as to why. But then
Well,
again, I don't live in ever since I left California and I live in South Carolina and feel like a real man, I don't have them sensibilities that them California types do.
Well, let me get to some more of these super chats. These because the chat's been very patient, and then we'll let you let you off the leash here, Mike. Okay, just chill.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna
we
go
can
get
talk
coffee.
about
I'll
the
be right
movie,
back.
so-
Go
Okay,
get
you
caught
do
up
that.
on super chats. I'm gonna go get
You're
coffee.
gonna
I'll
go
be back in
coffee.
5.
You don't need no fucking coffee.
I'm falling asleep back here. I've
You're
been
gonna
waiting for
put
2
coffee into
hours.
this,
I've been
man?
waiting for 2 hours to talk about this movie. I
my
gotta go get coffee. I'll be right
God.
back.
He's getting coffee.
Yeah.
Hillis Mallory, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Says, saw the movie. I liked it well enough. Sorry. Good film, not great. Anyone else disappointed with Banner not being Professor Hulk? Well, I'm sure that'll be something in the discussion, but real quick, I guess we'll run around the board here. Andre, how about you?
I'm actually very disappointed because I know what they're planning next.
Ooh.
And what happened here was that we haven't spoken about it. I think we're going to do a separate video on it. But that basically also confirmed another one of our good friend Mikey Sutton's scoops, because he predicted this months ago. He predicted that the next time we're going to see the Hulk. Again, this was 6 months ago. Would be in Shang-Chi, and we're not going to see the Hulk. We're going to see Banner, who has more or less. I don't recall. He may become like another kind of Hulk later on, like a stronger Hulk. But the long-term plan is that he's going to retire as the Hulk, and there's a new Hulk coming in the new all-Asian Avengers team. And the new Hulk is going to be Amadeus Cho, to be introduced. Because they're going to do all of the worst stuff of the comics.
So they're not going with the son of the Hulk. They're going to go with
Amadeus Cho, Korean Hulk. Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
On top of She-Hulk.
On top of She-Hulk, so it's going to be She-Hulk and Amadeus Cho Hulk.
So that's going to be leading into the Atlas thing that was been rumored.
Yes, Atlas. Yes, the all Asian Avengers.
Gotcha.
Because in being woke, Marvel is doing segregation.
How come Marvel movies never got into the Greek gods? They own them.
Well, they own the comic book iterations of them, same way that they own the comic book iterations, or at least their own comic book iterations of the Norse gods. But actually, that's something that may be coming as well. I do believe that Hercules is something that may be coming sooner or later.
I figured they would have done something like that before, like the Eternals, because people know who Hercules is. We had Kevin Sorbo in the 90s.
Well, Kevin Feige has kind of lost his way a little bit. So yeah, you'd think that, but you'd be wrong.
It's got to be a lot of pressure to be sitting on top of all this stuff. You know, it's like at a certain point, you feel like everything you do is going to be wrong, and then you just start making mistakes because of that.
I think it's more likely that they get high on themselves and think they can do no wrong, because he has, rightfully so, been praised as the greatest producer there ever was the past decade. And indeed, he has proven that to be the case, because Marvel has gone from hit to hit to hit. Even things that looked like were going to be disasters, with like Guardians of the Galaxy, with like walking around raccoons and talking trees, made a massive hit out of it. I think what's more likely to have happened is a sense of infallibility. And then when he was convinced by the club to introduce some more politics into proceedings, then he probably also did it thinking he can do no wrong.
Yeah, and that's so dangerous, man.
Yeah,
because it's like,
and this is
Dale Earnhardt hit a wall and died. He was the best.
And I see it exactly the same way as the film Shyamalan, who did The Sixth Sense and The Village and all of those things. Yeah, and then he thought himself infallible. He bought into his own hype, and he made Lady in the Water. I think that's where we're at with Kevin Feige.
Mike, you back yet, or you still getting coffee?
Looks like he's still getting coffee.
I think he's still getting coffee. All right,
well, let's do a few more super chats then.
I was gonna say, well, yeah, we're almost caught up, but I'm gonna skip over this next one and come back to it because Mike's not here.
Yep.
Michael Storms says, "Hi from Bulgaria." Well, hello. I run a comic shop and I refuse to stock merch from the new Marvel movies because I know they will just collect dust. Well, that probably is a good idea, or I wouldn't say like if you don't think you're going to sell them, then what the fuck's the point of buying? You're just going to have to discount them later, like the Shang-Chi toys.
Exactly.
Shang-Chi
you know your
toys. Blah.
Yeah. You know your audience. And kudos to you for that.
Absolutely.
And probably your audience knows you as well and will appreciate you only stocking things that they want.
Yeah. And then Adam Wolford sent in $20. Thank you so much. Says, remember when the History Channel did a Star Wars special and had a deep look at how Lucas pulled from mythology and modern Gothic horror, but I don't see the same being done with the new Star Wars movies. Oh, you're 100% right, Adam. Yeah, the new Star Wars movies are not even really pulling from Star Wars movies. So why wouldn't they turn out like shit? I don't know if anybody has any more comments on that, but
the sequel trilogy did not truly build on anything that came before and try to do their own thing and copy
soap operas have
flimsily
fucking foundations.
The sequel trilogy isn't even Battlestar, dude.
No.
Like the TV Battlestar was better than that.
And then one rough girl who actually made this point in the chat, and I put it on screen, but she also sent in a super chat, so thank you for that. Says, Chinese movie fan of Jet Li and Chow Yun-fat. Advertising and post-reaction offended me. So I had an attitude at viewing, but I appreciate the fights. And that's kind of what I felt like I was going to end up seeing when I go in Rough Girl. At least I hope. And at least if anything, maybe Paulie can help me with that and give me a little bit more of a motivation to possibly see this movie, but we'll see.
Oh, he will. He inspired me to go see it.
Yeah, well, you've walked out as well.
You walked out.
Okay, well, now that Mike's back, we can get Martin Winters.
Okay, yes. Martin Winters sent in a super chat here before who says, didn't want to attack your profession, Mike, to control business, but because Marvel is general audience cocaine, I don't think Disney needs to risk or do it. I agree with you, Martin, to an extent, but we've seen it, especially in the last few weeks, that they don't even realize they're cutting their nose off despite their faces sometimes, it feels like. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it to you, buddy, but
and the other way to explain this is that these elites at the highest level, when they're in touch with billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, or tens of millions of dollars, they care about themselves first, and they could care less what the impact is to the general public.
And that's just it. They're not cutting off their nose to spite their face. They're cutting off the nose off of someone else's face while they steal their money out of their back pocket and run away giggling.
you're not
That's
wrong.
how it works.
And Mike, you're sharing something here. What's this all about?
Nothing.
It looks like your emails here. You're like sharing.
Sorry about that. That was a mistake. No. I was going to share. I have the article up about Disney and the whistleblower.
Yeah, we'll get there.
But Culture brought it up on in the private chat. So I was
okay,
going to
we're almost there. Almost
there. Yeah.
We've got
a
couple more left here. Yep. You guys think that you may get to the point where you're so and I like this question, John Tube 2K. I really do. This is a very good question. You guys think that you may get to the point where you are so critical of movies that you may turn into Grammy judges, but basically out of touch with mainstream viewers? Yes, I worry about that a lot. I don't necessarily see it as a huge risk for most of us in the YouTube sphere, but it is definitely something I try to keep in perspective. I always did when I was working in video stores, so maybe it's a little easier for me than others, because even though I hated a lot of the shit that we had to peddle, I still knew there was a customer for it, right? Like, so you can't sit there and say, oh, that movie's a piece of shit in front of the wrong customer. And if you're working for certain, like when I worked for, more corporate companies like Movie Gallery, you can't say anything like that. Like, you have to basically say every movie is the greatest movie ever, period. As long as it gets it out the fucking door in that customer's hands. Like, that's all they give a shit about. So again, that goes back to even what Martin was saying before. Is like, yes, I think Disney is not only greedy enough to, but they are that fucking stupid enough to, because it's all what it's about is the perception of the product.
Yeah. And the other thing to consider is that mainstream audiences are the most inconsistent audiences around.
Yes.
Because what's
They're
mainstream
fickle.
today is not mainstream next week or the month after or the year later. It's that. And when I'm going into a film, it's my entire mindset is, okay, I want to see something great. And I will submit to that film until something happens that takes me out of it. And if it takes me out of it, that's usually a flaw. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of how I go on principle, because one of the things that you can say, especially now with the streaming technology and all the backlog of physical media, we have a very good collection of films that we can say are classics and stand the test of time, and people like to go back to and people like to share with their friends, family, and children. That should be the bar that you have with your tastes into what you want in your current day media and quality. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I also don't think there's anything wrong in seeing something that is a flash in the pan, fun for what it is, and maybe forgettable later on. As long as you had a good time enjoying it in that moment, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all for anyone. Yeah.
And as for me, I think it's really important to always stay true to yourself and your own honest impression. Like in this game in particular, it's very easy to kind of make up your mind in advance about how a certain movie or series is going to be, just based on the rumors and early press and everything. But as you're watching it, to me, it's very important to try to leave that stuff outside. Remind yourself, it doesn't have to mean anything. There are many things that have been brought back from the brink, and assess it on its own merits. And also never be afraid to go against the grain. It's like the moment that you are willing to compromise your own assessment because you think that's the right thing to say or think, that's when you're on shaky ground. So as long as we all always remain true to ourselves, never be afraid of going against the ground or going against the grain, then all is good and well. And we have that right here, because just look at, for instance, in this chat right here, we have Paulie, who loved the movie. We have Mike, who absolutely hated it.
Walked out.
And me, who will admit that there are many individual good parts of it, but as a whole, it was a mess. And Script Doctor, I really look forward to hear what you have to say about it. But anyway, exactly. But basically, just that we can have that diversity of opinion, and as long as we then can honestly discuss the subject matter at hand, then I'm not worried. It's the moment that everyone gives way to a certain kind of group thinking, we can't challenge each other. That's when you're on then you're basically like the Access Media 2.0, and we're not there, and I don't think we're ever going to get there.
Yeah,
Because
no,
here
I
you
think
can
that
have that conversation.
I think we're very disassociated and removed from the mainstream as far as things go, because we are overcritical of everything. We analyze everything. The average moviegoer does not analyze anything. They go and they see if they liked it or didn't like it, and then they stop thinking about it the second they get in the car. It's just the way it is. Now, over here, we're going to go through all the little aspects of the movie, from casting down to special effects, down to the overall arc of the story, and what we think is a trope and what we think is bad or good or redeemable and all the rest. But we can still take, even though we are in a more of a bubble over here in like the film critical side of things, we could still take ourselves out of that and look back over to the mainstream and have that objectivity. It's all about being objective in how you're looking at things. And that goes back to what Andre was saying about being able to actually sit there and give things a fair shot instead of having a preconceived notion or letting your preconceived notion be totally turned around once you've seen a film. I mean, I heard Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker. I thought that was the dumbest fucking thing ever. Oh yeah, I was wrong.
I actually, a similar thing. I thought the concept of the movie, that Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, I thought was kind of a pointless thing, but I was happily surprised and I really enjoyed it.
See, and I thought I was going to love that, and I hated it.
Now we had a couple of us had the opposite reaction. We all figured it was going to suck, and ended up loving it. But I do want to get Script and Polly specific reaction to this real quick. But Culture, Mike, did you want to react to the super chat real quick question, or
what was which specific one? I'm sorry.
Do you feel like let me reiterate it real quick here, because let me see here. I had it here and then I moved it because I was getting.
I don't know how to answer that question. I mean,
you think you may get to the point where you are so critical of movies that you turn into Grammy judges, basically out of touch with mainstream viewers?
No, because it only in Script may mention something similar, but I watch a film, and if I don't get pulled out of the film, they must be doing something right. I mean, that's the only time my critical brain engages for the most part.
Kind of like when a comedy's funny enough, you don't question all the stupid other shit.
Yeah. I mean, if you're only asking for one thing, usually you can keep me, right? There was a film I always found funny called Brewster's Millions. It was a remake of a previous film with Richard Pryor,
great flick,
John Candy. It was incredible, right? And they only asked you for the one big ask, and there was a lot of dumb in it. I mean, there was a ton of dumb in that film, but I loved it, right? Same thing with Caddyshack. I mean, there's like a lot of dumb, but if you don't pull me out of the film because you're telling a good story, something about it's compelling, my critical brain, is only going to say, oh, you know what, these were some great lines. We all quote lines from great films, right? You can go through Ghostbusters. There's 20 lines. When you walk out of a film and you can't even consider a handful of lines that you remember from the film, it didn't make an impression upon you. So, but getting back to what I was saying, so if I'm not pulled out of a film because the film doesn't hit a speed bump, at 70 miles an hour, usually, my critique is, was it funny? Was the story held together? Did the cast do a good job? Those are usually the critical stuff. When you start to hit multiple speed bumps, my critical brain goes fully engaged, and for whatever reason, you've lost me. So I usually finish the film that I'm watching or the show or whatever it is. But
well, I guess the bigger question is, do you get too close to the pudding, making the pudding to where you can't enjoy the pudding?
No. I think a deeper understanding of film makes it so you can appreciate good
I agree with that. And I think a better example than comedies, even more so, is a movie like Jaws.
Oh, yeah.
Because Jaws, there's so much stuff in that movie that would never happen. And even more so when you get to the end, where Spielberg flatly said, he was told by Peter Benchley himself, is like, that just isn't scientifically possible, nor would it probably ever happen. And Spielberg's like, I don't give a shit. I have the audience to this point. They are not going to question whether or not this tank is going to blow up this fucking shark. They're just going to cheer when it fucking happens.
If anything, the pressure of the air would probably just split the shark's head in half slowly.
That's kind of what they did on Mythbusters.
Mythbusters, yeah. They fired one of those tanks through a cinder block wall. That would have devastated that shark's face.
Chances are the shark would have swallowed it by then anyway.
It would still die, but it wouldn't have died like that.
Yeah, they could have made it look way cooler than it did, actually.
But again, I mean, you didn't pull the audience out with that.
No,
you had them. You had
That's
them the whole
point.
time.
That's the point that Spielberg's making is I have the audience. Doesn't matter what the fuck I do. Right. And now, Mike, I want to get your reaction to that question too before I get to Paulie and Script, because I want to ask them a bit more direct questions. Since
look, there's three groups of people out there here there's normies, and they generally aren't on YouTube about any of this stuff. Then there is people like me who are fanatics. I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have my own audience. I mean, I guess I do through Midnight's Edge and through stuff I do with Paulie and other channels. But I mean, I'm a fanatic. So I'm a comic book fan. I'm a movie fan. I go to movies at least once a week and have for decades. If I've missed a week, I mean, I've been seeing 3 or 4 movies a month for I don't even know how long, and I've just now restarted after not having done it for a year and a half. But I don't have, an audience where I'm trying to do fire and brimstone and all that stuff. My YouTube channel is damn near inactive, and because I enjoy being a fan.
Yeah, you pay for it, so your reaction is the genuine, like, did I like it or didn't I like it? I paid money for it. Do I feel like I got my money's worth, kind of thing?
Yeah, and I'm not in the industry. Good God, I'm a tax accountant by day. I'm not a script doctor. I've never been an actor. I'm, like Paulie or anybody.
And that brings me to Paulie and Script. I mean, that's why I wanted to direct this question a little bit differently at you guys. Paulie, let's go with you first, since you have, actors in the family, let's say, and you have an experience yourself, and you're kind of, a little closer to the industry than we are. Do you find it difficult sometimes to separate your opinions of a film a little bit more than you would be critically if you didn't feel like you were so close to these kind of things? I mean, I know this question kind of hits home in that sense, so I kind of expect a genuine answer out of you here.
Absolutely not. So I love experiencing movies, and then I love breaking them down, and that's why watching it just one time is sometimes not sufficient. In fact, we're gonna go a little while. I'm gonna watch it again, just because it was such a kind of entertaining time. But now I want to go back and really kind of break down some of the elements. But yeah, I think just that's like my first reaction to that. In fact, sometimes I can't turn off, how the story is structured, or I can see agenda right away. Different levels of acting, of acting expertise, directing expertise. So sometimes I actually, critique as I go along, which isn't good. I want to be able to enjoy myself. So that's why I need to see it a couple times, especially if it's something that I enjoyed the first time. I'm going to see it again.
But that's not normal. Then the answer is yes, not no.
I get where he's coming from. It's a little bit different kind of yes. Like it's not the same kind of yes.
Yeah.
It's more so it's the pudding question kind of I was presenting to you, Mike. Was like he knows the pudding, so how it's made, so it's a little harder for him to disconnect from that, I think, is what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
Unless I'm wrong, Paulie.
And Mike, you got insight to what me and Romy do. So, whatever disagreements you may have with my discussion, please, with me right now, have it with the degree of civility, because you have insight to our lives and the day-to-days of the struggles, because the struggles are real, right? So, I don't think anyone, and thanks for letting me be here, guys. Sorry I'm late. I don't think anyone talked about this one strong element as far as the money that was made this past week, and whether the numbers are padded. I don't know that. That's Mike's expertise. That's not for me to hear or say. in the Latino community, when a film comes out and it's got an all Latino cast, we say, go give it your dollars. No matter what, even if it sucks, go give it your dollars. Why? Because we want Hollywood to know our buying power. Then one movie begets another and another, the films get better and better.
Ideally, yes, absolutely.
Ideally, right? Thank you, script. I think everyone has estimated the Asian American community in the major markets. I think that's what we saw. If I can use my movie experience as a petri dish, so that being said, there's just certain films where the Asian American community came out, Crazy Rich Asians, and that went mainstream, but it was propelled by the Asian American community. Let me use my experience as a petri dish, right? Los Angeles, Hollywood, 7 p.m. show on the Thursday night, sold out show. And I took notice, right? I took notice of who came into that theater. A lot of Asian Americans, and the Asian American couple, younger than us, sat right next to us. Several gay couples that I noticed. I just noticed these things, right? And I was like, oh, okay, this is good. This is going to be interesting, right? And immediately with the trailers, people were jacked. People were like, you can hear the screams and the excitement. And just to so the type of crowd it was, when the Eternals came on, people were saying snooze. Even Romy was like, this is awful. So I'm just letting you know that we're not, me and Romy are pretty real with our opinions. We're not blind just because, she's in the entertainment industry.
You're not going to be overly nice just because it's hard.
Right. Well, also too, her biggest gripe with Black Widow is that, it's like, yeah, it's cool, Florence Pugh and girl power a little bit, but she felt that she'd seen it before. Like, and even expressions, and they were just so boring, and this is her opinion. And that was the opposite of what she got in Shang-Chi. And so before I go into I know we're not talking about the movie yet. So back to the Asian American community, if I use that as a petri dish and I duplicate that, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, give me another fifth, New York, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
There you go.
Can be, absolutely, yeah.
So script, being that you're actually in the industry, do you find it difficult sometimes when you're reviewing things to separate and to still be an actual audience member, in so many words?
Again, I only find it difficult when something makes myself aware that I'm watching a movie. It's pretty much just like what you're saying. Like, I know what's inside the pudding. And if I know what's inside the pudding and I see that there's something there that shouldn't be there, I'm going to be pulled out. And that's the thing, right? It's like, I want to know, I want a recipe. I want a good recipe. I want a recipe that maybe brings in something new that actually complements the rest of the pudding, as opposed to something that, finding a cockroach in it. That's the difference. And because I know how movies are made and I've seen how they're made, I'm not thinking about how they're made unless it's after the film, because if I'm engaged into it, I don't think about how they're made. I'm just there for the ride, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, how did they do that special effects, or how did they pull that shot off, or anything like that. I got to go back and see that, and then look at it that way. But if I'm just watching it, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, wait, why are we stopping the story here? Why are we going back to this point? Why is this character doing the things that they're doing? Like that. That's the stuff that an audience who's engaged, even if a filmmaker engaged, should not have to ever think about or ask. You have to be able to establish those things in your action and dialogue to bring your audience in and be engaged. And that's just how I look at things. There's lots of movies like I tried analyzing The Thing many times, but I just can't. I get totally enraptured in that film, and I'm just taken away for it because it's such a beautifully shot, beautiful film. I understand what everybody's going through in that movie, why they're doing what they're doing, the dangers and the stakes. So yeah, like there's some movies I just have a harder time analyzing that would probably take me a very long time to do so, because I just get caught up in the storytelling. And then there's other films and other TV shows that just completely pull me out within the first five minutes, and it's like, okay, now I've just gotta push my way through this and see if it all if it pulls me back in, or if it justifies why I withdrew a little bit earlier on.
Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
Yeah, because it's almost like you have to put yourself in a certain state, or like turn your brain off, for lack of a better way of saying it, before you begin, so you could have your disbelief suspended. But I know exactly what you mean when they do stupid.
Well, that's
stuff
actually the
and
worst
they're
way to
pull you
have your
back in,
disbelief.
it's tough.
Yeah. Well, the worst way to have your disbelief suspended is to turn your brain off, because storytelling in its general is to actually stimulate your brain.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, you don't want to turn that off. If you're
That's
turning
why
it
I
off,
love
it's just
courtroom
consuming.
dramas. For some reason, even though they're technically boring,
Mhm.
but I love a good courtroom drama for some fucking reason. Like, I can just get right into it.
They're very dependent on character too, and that's
Exactly.
like, My Cousin Vinny is my favorite.
Oh yes.
Like, how can you not love that? Because there's so many things going on there, and it's all character, and it's very, very simple film.
A Few Good Men I enjoyed.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Oh, 12 Angry Men is also a great one.
Yeah, 12 Angry Men. Yeah.
Even some of
Jack
the worst
Nicholson,
ones are
man.
not ones that are considered the greatest. Like, I just watched True Believer the other day.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't have a great ending, but good movie still. Why? Because of the characters. The ending's kind of lame, but
wait, that had Woods in it, right? That was a
James Woods,
yeah.
Robert Downey Jr., the guy who plays Chosen from Karate Kid 2 is in it.
Wow.
The ending is just kind of convoluted the way it comes together, but otherwise it was a really good movie. I mean, it was just like, it was kind of one that got past me for years, and I just happened to buy it and watch it. It was just like, cool movie. Anyway, yeah, Time to Kill is another great one I saw in the chat brought up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love those. Melvor says, great live stream, guys. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you, Melvor, and we'll try to do our best. A couple more here, and then we'll get into the actual discussion of the movie. Unless you guys want to do that now, and we can break off into the rest of these in a little bit.
We're really close to the end, so you might as well catch up, right?
I only have 15, 20 more minutes. I gotta
that
work.
was the other problem. So like,
yeah, and I'm running out of time too.
So why don't we break there? I'll get back to the super chats in a little bit here. Let's talk about the movie while we got Mike and everybody here. So I'm gonna kind of chill out with Jesse here and grab some popcorn and hear what these guys have to say about the film. Andre, take them away, or don't. I think Andre stepped away for a second.
Once upon a time, there was a man named Shang-Chi.
Oh, well, there you go.
So now Andre is
an American who went to China.
Andre does Sean Connery.
I was just gonna say that sounds like Andre doing Sean Connery.
I can't do it. I can't do an Andre.
Well, that was still pretty good. Andre doing Sean Connery.
Yeah.
I'll be right back in just a second. I'm just getting a text after to go.
No problem. All right. Well, then, Mike, since you're going to be heading out soon along with Culture, let's grab your guys' impressions first. First impressions of Shang-Chi. I know how Andre usually does this. So first, tell us, how do you know of the character? If you knew of the character before this, your expectations going in, and your overall impression real quick. Let's start with you, Mike.
So I picked this movie because Paulie does great movie reviews, and he's given me other reviews in the last 3 months, and I really have enjoyed every single time. And most of the time, a couple of times there are movies I never even heard of. Yeah, I like at all. And this is one of them. I've never heard of this character. I'm a DC guy, not a Marvel guy. And then R&B said it was a triumph, which I know everybody made fun of them, but I love R&B. I love Paulie. I trust their opinions and their judgments. So I went to go see it. And I had it was an absolutely ridiculous clusterfuck of a movie. I don't know what Paulie's talking about by saying, he wants me to be, maintain civility, because I'm not talking about him or his girl. I'm talking about this movie. But as far as the movie goes, I found 3 problems with it. Problem number 1 is that I didn't know what kind of movie I was watching. I didn't know if I'm watching a romantic comedy. I don't know if I'm watching some kind of fantasy Chinese adventure. I don't know if I'm watching a traditional action movie. I don't know what the hell I was watching. I really don't know. That's the first problem I had. The second problem I had was just the sheer utter ridiculousness of the basics of the plot. You have like these 2 valets in San Francisco. Look, I've lived in the Bay Area for years. I've lived in San Francisco. There's no place where a bus for 15 minutes is going to be going down any hill in San Francisco. That was ridiculous. The concept that they're valets and the next day they're jumping on a plane to China is just absolutely laughable. You're talking about what? Minimum wage of $10 an hour. and they all of a sudden have $48,000 for a round trip. Now, these are little details that matter because you want me to, you want to bring me into a movie. And I find it ridiculous that that two valets and just their whole relationship in general is absolutely laughable. 10-year friendship where there's nothing sexual going on. I mean,
Maybe they found something in the trunk.
They have breakfast every morning. They, party and get drunk at night. It started ridiculous and it just got more ridiculous for me. And I walked out as soon as the rabbit chicken showed up and I saw Ben Kingsley. I thought the whole scene where she's talking about, if you can't enter your dad's empire, I'm going to build my own. Oh my God, this woke laughable crap is just ridiculous. But I stayed and I stuck with it. Then I heard Ben Kingsley's little list of lines that he threw out, which I just thought were horribly acted, horribly written. I thought it was an absolute joke. And then when the rabbit chicken came out, which was both had no eyes, no nose, no nothing, and that's what's going to guide them to the secret mystical place in the secret mystical area of the secret mystical, ending of the movie. I bowed out at rabbit chicken. When rabbit chicken showed up, it was just absolutely laughable to me. I'm like, okay, now we're going even more fantasy weirdo, and so now we're in the fourth type of movie. And I walked out. And the truth of the matter is that Polly had sent me a script that I had half read before I left to New Orleans. Going to see Shang-Chi was going to be my reward for a trip that I did in New Orleans to help a friend. And I was in Birmingham, Alabama. I went back to the hotel, and you know what I did? I read a script that Polly sent me that he wrote, and I had a great night. And that's how I ended my night. I had a more enjoyable time finishing reading the script that Paulie sent me than I did watching this movie. It was an absolute joke. I have only walked out of a movie. If I've seen 100 movies, I've only walked out of 3, and I haven't walked out of one in a long time. And this was one. I just found it absolute. Now Andre's right. There are some great scenes. There's some fantastic scenes. This movie had all of the promise and the potential of something great, and there are little great snippets in this movie. There are fantastic, great snippets. However, the peaks and valleys between greatness and wokeness, or greatness and idiocy, and greatness and unbelievability were too great for me. And it lost me, and it kept losing me. And I kept wanting. And the other thing that made it difficult is the use of flashback. They kept using flashback to tell the story. Flashback is a tool that you use within, in my opinion, flashback is a tool that you use within a story. It's not how you tell a story. And so every time I would watch a scene in the current real time, I would be like, okay, I wonder why that's happening. And then I'm like, okay, I don't have any idea why that's happening, but I'll bet there'll be a flashback that'll explain. Oh, okay, here's the flashback. Now I understand why it's happening. And then I would go to the next thing, and then it would be in the current time. I'm like, okay, I have no idea why this is happening, but I'll bet they'll do another flashback. Oh, here's another flashback. I mean, literally. And it's funny because I'm sitting there with my popcorn. I threw out a half bag of popcorn. I didn't even finish my Slurpee. Went back to the hotel, took little Bambino for a walk, went upstairs, grabbed the script that Paulie sent me, and I had a great night and fell asleep. And fortunately, it wasn't a disastrous night. But I mean, that was my experience. I walked out. I thought it was a train. It had moments of greatness, but it was just not a well-told story in a way that was engaging or that kept me entertained.
Right. Culture. Even though Mike bypassed what you knew about Shang-Chi beforehand and your expectations going in, because I don't think did you know anything about the character, Mike, before you went into this, or
no?
Okay, I didn't think so. So anyway, so the question's kind of moot. What about you, Culture? Same question.
I knew a little bit about Shang-Chi going into this. Again, my exposure to comics was in the perfect period of time when I was a young person. My stepdad got me involved in them, and then all of my family members would occasionally, put them together for me. And then of course there was the bike ride down to Circle K to pick up your, pack of comics. And sometimes you had enough money to buy a good book, and sometimes you bought the 3-pack in plastic, and you got lucky occasionally. But I just, so my exposure to the character came out of just random issues, not an entire run of the character. And, of course, to me, it was Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, if I remember correctly. But I just, again, I mean, it was just that kind of brief contact as a young person, and then this character started to get revealed to us as this is possibly going to be a film made. And so I did a little some cursory research and stuff like that, like I always do, and I'm like, okay, well, this could be pretty cool. And of course then there were the rumored changes and stuff like that. So but bypassing all of that stuff, I went to the film on Friday. I turn my brain off like I always do when I go into a film, so that any of my preconceptions or preconceived notions, any of that stuff, I try to leave at the door. Walked into my theater. When I sat down, there weren't that many people in there, but again, it ended up when the film started, there were about 13. A little over halfway when I went to count, there were 16 of us in the theater. Again, the theater seats somewhere between 250 and 300 people. And so there weren't that many people there, and everybody sat in a premium seat, and, right in the center. And the movie experience was very comfortable. I didn't feel crowded, obviously. The theater smelled fresher than I've ever smelled the theater smell in a long, 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 long time. So that was kind of cool. Let's see. I sat down and tried to lose myself in the film, and there were a few times that I got pulled out. I recall laughing about 3 times, maybe 4. I found Aquafina a couple of times. She was the person that got me to laugh, which I was surprised by because I've never really appreciated her comedy or her delivery. But she wasn't. I mean, there were no cast. There was nothing that had to do with the cast or any of the character portrayals that caused me any issues. I had some of the same struggles that Andre did with the film, with it feeling like it was just a hodgepodge of things that I've seen before. And in fact, in the review video that that I actually have going up in 20 minutes, I think, it's just a kind of a spoiler-free stream of consciousness. I allude to some of the stuff. Okay, I've seen this before, back in action film, had nothing to do with a martial arts film or anything other than an action film. I've seen a lot of scenes from other things. I'm like, okay, so they did this scene basically from this film. Okay, so they did the scene basically from this film, and you'll see moments like that. And if if you're looking for them, you're going to see a lot of them. The story I didn't think was awful. I didn't find it as troubling as Mike did. Overall, I thought it was a lot of fun. But at the center of it, I for whatever reason thought that this is 100% focused on identity of our character. And that was kind of the entire storyline for me. I'm not sure if somebody else take away a different impression, but there's that. It like I said, it pulled me out 4 or 5 times. I didn't think the CGI work was particularly good. There were a few times I spotted the wires. They didn't bother to take them out of the scene. Like, okay, it's a choice. A lot of things. There were too many times I had to suspend disbelief because of physical damage, that people were taking. That I'm going, okay, that's just a regular human. It's not a superhero. So that literally would, if not, kill you, you wouldn't be getting up from that. So it just far too much of that stuff. And oh my gosh, somebody subscribed to the channel. Thank you. But ultimately, it wasn't, I didn't find it to be a bad film, but I didn't find it to be a particularly good film. And they used all the cinematic tricks at the end that they always use in a Marvel film to make you have an emotional reaction. The score, of course, the music behind it all, and that heartstring moment that you're always looking for there. I wasn't as upset about the headless chicken wing, whatever it was that Mike was bothered by. I didn't mind Morris quite so much as he did. I thought some of the animals were really cool. I felt like we should have spent a lot more time in Tao Lo than we did in the film. I think they should have been telling the story from that side of the equation, and that should have happened much earlier. The making it to Tao Lo, instead of the last third of the film. I thought that should have been like firmly in the middle, so that we could understand why this other character was much worse than the other one. So, again, I didn't feel like the villain was like overly villainous, and this is now consecutive superhero films. There you go, rabbit chickens. Well done.
Well, it's like a bad dad trope thing in Marvel movies now.
Yeah, and I was really, I mean, I was like, I just saw this in that really bad Wonder Woman film, and where the villain wasn't actually that villainous. It's just, I don't know. But ultimately, like I said, for me the film fell flat. But if somebody enjoyed it, that's great. I mean, there were some scenes in there I thought were fantastic, and there were some scenes in there I thought either shouldn't have been in there, or should have been done differently. But I think the structure of the film ultimately should have been different, and I think that would have changed a lot of things for me. I think that the end credit scenes, the mid-roll credit and the end roll credit scenes, I think they're fine, but I don't know that they were even necessary, nor would I care. Hey, it's a bot.
Well, you're getting a bit more into specifics now, so I want to get everybody's earlier impression. No, that's fine. I just wanted to get into everybody's earlier impression, then you guys can get into more specifics. I don't know if Andre's back yet, but Paulie, you had a little bit different experience. So let's hear your first. What did you know about Shang-Chi going in? What was your expectations, and overall, what was your reaction to the film?
Well, I knew nothing about the comic, and when the trailer came out earlier this year, we did a little breakdown with Clobber Times. So he got me up to speed, and obviously, the film version looks nothing like the comic book version, and he explained to me that Marvel, so he gave me a little bit of the history. So I was like, okay, well, that's just kind of films, adaptations and what they do. And going into the film, I do have to say I did have two strikes against it. Even though I was like, all right, I'm going to go have a good time, was that I don't like Awkwafina's, not personally, just, her comedic, her comedy or whatever it was. And Simi. Simu, yeah, that too, him too. I just thought he was like very ordinary looking in the trailers, and I was like, oh man, the young version of Shang-Chi when he's training as a kid, cinematically was way more interesting to watch than Simu in this trailer. So I was like, oh man.
I agree with that. I would have preferred them waiting for that kid to grow up and use him.
Yeah. So, and then another thing is that I'm a big Tony Leung fan. Have been for many years. And I was like, God, I would actually wish he could have been the lead. Maybe if he was 10 years younger, because he's just so amazing to watch. And so he didn't disappoint in this film. And I actually was, so that was going in. I loved the family. I loved, to me, everyone in the family had something. Obviously, everyone loved Tony's character, and maybe even wished he had his own film. I think that's probably why they had so many flashbacks. They had to kind of catch up while they were telling the story, because they didn't have the benefit of maybe what Black Panther had. So that was a challenge, and it's either going to work for people or not. It didn't bother me. I thought the beginning was beautiful. It was thrilling. How we met the mom. And that her brand of martial art was superior to his, and that happens all the time. Women in martial arts, speaking as a black belt, they not only do they adapt quicker because of their attention to detail and their emotionally how they keep themselves in check. They can't outmuscle a move. It's it's very plausible. I always love that. And everyone always uses the example of Wing Chun as well. It's a woman who created Wing Chun. Yes, but women have in every martial art form they've really excelled and brought up the martial art form. So I thought that was just awesome to watch. The mom and her influence on the kids. I thought everyone had conflicts with each other. I thought, as far as the family, so I thought that was great. In modern time, so of course I was completely surprised by Simu and Aquafina. I was so surprised, that I actually liked that I liked them. A relationship over years doesn't need to be that obvious, we're in love and this is how it goes, cinematically, as Romeo pointed out to me, is that it could be very layered and it appeals. And you saw that in the film. And there was one obvious one was when later on he had to fight and he took his shirt off and she was like, damn, that, so there was those moments. Again, that didn't bother me. I loved her family. I love and of course the bus montage was killer. I don't want to give it away too much. I because I liked Aquafina meant that I liked most of the comedy in the movie. I thought it was like on par with Ant-Man, because that's the only thing I can think of. It's such a non-Marvel film, and yet it is a superhero film. So I had a great time. I
agree with that. Humor-wise, just like Ant-Man. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know the third act was very problematic for people, because it goes heavy into fantasy. Without, I don't know if we're talking details or spoilers here, Tom, but
I say
spoil away.
Spoil away. But go, okay, guess so. Go ahead. Never mind.
Well, right. Without going too much, I know everyone's talking about the Chinese Wakanda. That didn't bother me. I wish Mike didn't walk out, because I wish he saw the dragons at the end. I wish he saw that fight. I wish he saw the beauty in the moment and the stillness in the father and son. I mean, absolutely incredible, absolutely tremendous. And I get it, with the goofy characters, I get it. I just wish he hadn't walked out. I feel there was a great emotional payoff. There was a great homage to Kung Fu Hustle's, I think, script, or I forgot who else mentioned the homages. One of the characters had a Kung Fu Hustle poster at the beginning of the movie, and if you remember at towards the end, where he kind of finally realizes his powers, and he does like a yin yang turn and smashes his hands together to propel that energy to gut the bad dragon. That was straight out of Kung Fu Hustle and what Stephen Chow did with his character. I mean, I was nuts. Yeah, it ripped off from the best of here, best of that's. It's a Marvel film, right? I did not like the post credits. I thought they were just cringe. And someone in the audience, and Mike, I love you too, man. I think I had a bad choice of words when I said that. So I do.
Quick question, Paulie.
Yeah.
In Kung Fu Hustle, didn't one of the characters, the older guy who's the bow staff, didn't he also have the weighted rings on his wrists?
Yeah, I mean, and that those are motifs in a lot of films, a lot of Asian American films, Kung Fu films, but in the theater, that's like, even in the Hollywood theater where, you could call us whatever you want. When Captain Marvel showed up, it wasn't the reaction I'm sure Marvel wanted. That's my first impressions right there.
Oh, so there's a big moment in this.
Yeah, I don't think that anyone reacted like too positively to seeing Captain America, as Captain Marvel suddenly show up there. I think there were very few cheers. But anyway, Paulie, thanks for sharing, and I see where you come from. And as I said in my review, I agree completely with Tony Leung. I would absolutely fully support a modern day Fu Manchu remake in that style, starring him. That's the movie I wanted to see. That's the movie I got the most out of. And second to that, the Marvel movie with the Ant-Man level humor. And then this super woke Chinese Wakanda, Mulan, female-powered. Yeah, it kind of lost me there with the headless Narf chicken bunny creature and everything. I mean, yeah, I get that Groot was a hit for them, and it probably tried to repeat that, but that fell on its face, or rather, it fell on its butt because headless Snarf doesn't have a face.
All right. Well, anyway, Script Doctor.
Yes.
What did you know about the character going in? What was your expectations and your overall first impression?
Did not know much about the character going in. I knew of the name. I knew of the Master of Kung Fu series, and that was pretty much about it. When I saw who was writing it, I had very low expectations because there's a pattern to the level of quality that this particular writer puts out, and it's not very good. But I know Simu, work with him, still want to work with him again, despite his being manipulated by the powers that be. And I liked Tony Leung and I liked Michelle Yeoh, so I wanted to check them out. Aquafina, couldn't give two thoughts of in general. But I wanted to go in there and see how they were going to pull this off. And I was disappointed because I saw a really great movie within what was shown. There's an absolute beautiful film here with regards to love, grief, and accepting loss that was just completely lazily done. Tony Leung is the only character in this film that actually has a goal and motivation, and it's a very compelling one. It's a very understandable one. I really wanted to know who Shang-Chi is as a character, and this movie did not give me anything that was definitive about him other than the fact that he kind of just coasts through.
I hate when they don't give you the backstory you want, man.
He has a backstory. He actually has a really great backstory, but it does not tether or connect properly to who he is when we meet him. One of the most significant parts of his backstory is told to us and not shown, and that is also a tragedy because that should have been shown.
All right.
I love the relationship of the mother. When I was pulled out pretty quick, in fact, I was pulled out of the film during the first fight between Wenwu and the mom to be, because I'm watching this and I'm thinking this is poorly shot. The choreography is kind of poor, and it was done far better in between Catherine Zeta-Jones and Antonio Banderas in The Mask of Zorro when they're sword fighting. I felt like the shots they took and how they complemented each other did not show a type of chemistry to believe that these two would fall in love. At least this quickly.
Script. I have another comparison. You know what that reminded me of when I saw it? What I was thinking?
What?
I was thinking of the 2003 Daredevil, starring Ben Affleck, because when you have like that fight scene there between him and Jennifer Garner, I was thinking the exact same thing. They're fighting, but they're kind of like dancing. It's flirting. To me, the most clear-cut example of it was actually that Daredevil movie.
Yeah, like that was there, but I was just looking at what was better, and like that one, the Mask of Zorro was a far better relationship in that part there. But I really liked Lee's story about the pendant and the magic that she gave up to be with Wenwu, and that she really knew that she was in love with him after her first kid, and then like this movie felt like it was killed in the editing bay, because all the stuff that was flashbacks could have been done a very coherent narrative and within the first 10-11 minutes of the film, and then once you have that life-changing decision that Shang-Chi has to go through, then you can kind of cut to current day where he's not living that life anymore, because you want something that's kind of compelling. You want to understand why he's made the choices he made. They left how his mother died a mystery for at least an hour into the film. They bring in the sister who is there just to be there. I mean, I felt that she was underserved and underused, as was Shang-Chi. One of my friends, my co-workers, because we saw the matinee and we got to see it for free, technically, kept on comparing Katie, Awkwafina's character to a Kathleen Kennedy insert. Because we work with 2 Kathleens in our office, and they all prefer the nickname Katie. And then on top of that, what she does in the film, she pretty much saves everyone at the end. And it's like, oh, that's weird. Does Marvel have that type of positive relationship with Kathleen Kennedy? And if not, is it just a coincidence? I don't know. I'm not going to make any further implications on that. I also don't buy into the argument that they could be friends for 10 years and not have a romantic relationship. I've been friends with a woman for 20 years, and I'm the godfather to 2 of her children, and I have no sexual relationship with her, and we're very close, so I can totally believe that. I think what they were trying to do in Shang-Chi was very different in that part.
Did you, real fast, sorry, Script.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Did you feel that their connection grew and got stronger at the end? That when they hugged each other, there was a little bit of emotional payoff for you at all?
Yeah, well, not so much an emotional payoff, but I understood where both characters were coming from at that point in the film, where they were just so happy to see each other that they've gone on this journey and whatnot. Yeah. Like, that was fine. I bought into that. That was like, okay, I don't have any issues with that part there. What I really wanted was, like, Tony Leung really stood out. My favorite parts were everything of his before the 3rd act was just great. I mean, I like that the flashback scene where he's just destroying that entire restaurant after his wife has been murdered. And
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like
yeah, because I was
Tony's so amazing that even Feige, there's a story that Feige met him. Feige, whatever. Feige, when he had met Tony on set, that he was like, starstruck. I mean, that it's almost unfair to the other actors because he just eats up scenery, man.
And he does it without hurting.
Yeah,
like, the thing is, he's offering, his performance is cool because he's offering things for the other actors to take. And because I've worked with Simu Liu, I know there's definitely some takes there that he took that energy and brought it back, but it wasn't used in the actual.
He said he did in interviews. He said it was on the set acting lessons. Well, I was like, okay, that's good and bad, but
the thing is, I don't think that those takes were used in the final cut because it's like, because I've seen him do some stuff. Like, I've seen Simu do some stuff where you're like, damn, that's really good, and I know he can do it. And I'm watching the movie and I'm thinking, why did they use that take? I'm pretty sure he had a better take than that. Like, I'm pretty sure. Because I think this was kind of butchered a little bit in the editing, which threw it off, because really the internal conflict should have been the children have come to terms with their mother's passing, and their father has not, and their father is being manipulated by other forces and they didn't lean into the magic enough to say that this could be a possibility to at least tempt the children to understand where his father's coming from. And I think that's kind of one of its own faults, because she does come from a magical world, essentially. And if they said that there was a legend of resurrection or recompense or something of that nature to bring the mother back, which is the one thing that Tony Leung's character cherished. Like, he said he found a meaning of life once he fell in love with her and had his kids. Like, he abandoned his criminal empire. It wasn't what it was when he was a father. Like, he had that great flashback where he's playing Dance Dance Revolution with his kids and his wife. And
it's like, you're absolutely, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And still, and that's what I said, is like, it almost had to play catch up. It almost was like,
and it shouldn't have had to.
Yeah. And because you didn't get that with T'Challa's father. Right. No. We didn't get all that. Right. Because but that's really interesting. I mean, cinematically wise, Tony Leung's character was the best character. You're absolutely
it was the reason it's the best character is because we clearly understood what it was he wanted. And I was desperate to find that for Shang-Chi, because I'm like, okay, he's living his life in his 20s. He doesn't have a goal. He gets that postcard from his sister.
Mm-hmm.
And then only after he's attacked does he start thinking about her well-being, which I'm like, okay, that's a character flaw, so let's see where that's going. Mm-hmm. And it goes to her beating him up, which is fine. I don't care. Listen, my sister has beaten my ass up a couple of times. So So there was that part, but it just felt kind of a bit too contrived, like the characters are being pulled through this movie as opposed to them leading us as an audience with them through this film. And it keeps starting and it keeps stopping and restarting throughout the stuff, because I really would have liked it if Shang-Chi's here's the premise, and this is the big spoiler part. So Shang-Chi kills the man that kills his mother. And I would have liked it if they decided to make him regret that action so much that his life now is no longer part of the 10 rings, but he is just trying to make up for that one murder that he didn't want to do, that he shouldn't have done, because his mother taught him that that's not what he would be. That's not what she wants her memory of him to be, or something like that nature, before she dies. And he just travels the world, basically kind of like in Kung Fu. He goes to various towns. He helps people in need. He uses his Kung Fu to do so. He gets by. And that's his mission. Is like he has to make up for that one terrible sin that he knows his mother would just be completely devastated if he did, because he did it. So he's just trying to do that. And maybe you could have a spiritual thing where through the pendant, an echo of her spirit talks to him, and then as soon as he killed that guy that murdered her, that spirit is gone and he can't hear her anymore. And so he figures, if I go on a journey of good deeds, maybe I'll be able to hear her again. And then that would line up in parallel with Wang Wu's goal of, I just want the mother back. And so you have these two characters that both want, this woman back in their lives. Shang-Chi on a more spiritual path, and then Wang Wu on a more literal path, and then those two come to collide because Shang-Chi admits, like, listen, we know she's gone. She can't come back. The best thing we can do is live the best lives in memory of her. And Wang Wu is like, but no, I know of the magic of this village. I know they can bring her back. We can have both, have our cake and eat it too thing. And then that would be a great conflict. But we didn't get that. We just have these kids who have disassociated from their father, who have decided to live their own lives, one of criminal ambition, one of slackering and being a valet in San Francisco. And because there's nothing else underneath that for us to relate to, like, we empathize with the struggle, we empathize with the part-time job and just, kind of slacking around and leading on. But everybody has, at some point, the one thing we love about our characters is there is a goal that they have at hand. And whether that goal is, if it was Shang-Chi's goal to hide, I think that would be a good goal to have, where maybe he's catching eyes of people who are trying to come after him or what have you, because they know who his father is and whatnot. And he's like, just wants to keep us stable in life. That would have been cool, but we didn't get that. The closest we got, it was on a bus. And I thought, oh yeah, the bus fight scene's kind of cool, but it also shows how stupid the assassins are for attacking him on a moving vehicle when they could have just cornered him before the bus or after the bus.
That's a cinematic plot, though.
It's a cinematic plot.
To have it on a bus is pretty damn cool. A moving automobile. I mean, that's pretty amazing script. Come on. But the thing with Shang-Chi, I bought was that I was so surprised that he kicked ass on the bus, because he was such a dope. It's kind of like he's forgotten those, those 10 years. He really did a great job of just becoming a completely different person. I like that. I bought it. And
well, it's okay to buy it. I just didn't understand why he had to behave, why he felt the need to behave that way. That we're missing that connective tissue, right? It's like, why does he have to behave like a dope?
Right.
There's nothing to say that he doesn't have to be someone that's, responsible with his skills, or doesn't have to be like a person that doesn't have to be a Clark Kent-ish type, but he can just be someone that's a bit more cautious, but more reasonable, more rational. But they kind of really push the gas down on that a bit more in this film. But I didn't understand why he had to go in that direction.
Well, look, I mean, and this is why I was surprised by those two. Is that I bought it, and you're right. You're right.
Because I don't not buy it. I don't not buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's basically a murderer who ran. Correct.
He's a murderer. I guess he's a murderer on the run, or on the lam, so to speak.
Right. That's what I mean. So
and we find out that way after. But yeah.
Right. And could have been there more angst or conflict. I think you're right. And that's why I'm going to watch it again. But it didn't bother. It didn't, to me, it didn't stop my forward motion.
That's fine. No, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. But I totally agree with you with Tony's story. I mean, it's so surreal.
I love that story. I got that
that's
story
why-
because I've lost a parent, and I would do anything to get them back if I could. And I think that's one of the things that was missing from this for the kids on that side of things is like they know they come from a magical world to a degree. They know their father's at least 1,000 years old, so they know there's some stuff that can go on and happen. And it's like, why would they be so flippant, I would say, about this situation?
Do they?
It felt that way for me. At least that's what I got.
Because he never wore the rings. He wore the rings after the wife died.
Yes,
that's when the seed of evil came back.
Yes,
and he you know, I think it was more like Michael Corleone's son going away from the family business. Like he saw what an evil dude his dad was, and he made him become a trained assassin. He was like, I killed and
sent him after his mother's murder. No, I get that part. Yeah. That part is fine. Mm-hmm. I have no problem with that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I think the fact of the matter is that the story that we end up learning of what the motivation is that I want to get your mother back so that I can be happy again because I haven't been happy since she's been gone. And he tried to hide it in his rage. Mm-hmm. But apparently that wasn't the case because again, he's now seeking out his both of his children to bring that back. So there's something of depth there, which I thought was fascinating. But it was the children's reaction to it and the approach and the relationships that were kind of off. I'm trying to figure out, like, they're missing a beat where when Wang Wu says, yeah, I found a way to bring your mother back, and Shang-Chi be like, well, I know that can't happen, and he doesn't give us a proper reason as to why, given the fact that he knows the legends of his mom, the legends of the village he comes from, the fact that his father, you know, has had those 10 rings and had immortality. Like, there's all these factors that he was physically exposed to growing up that could support a resurrection or a bringing back of his mother, but he's just casually saying, no, that can't be. And it's like, well, you're now rejecting everything. And so if you're rejecting everything, I need a really good reason as to why you're rejecting that mysticism, having grown up into it. And I felt that was missing from the...
With all this debate, you know, what we're talking about, to me, this is way more enjoyable, way like they dug deeper than any Marvel movie that I can think of, you know, in a while. You know, for me,
for the villain, at least for the villain,
what's the first? There's the first Infinity War, and then there was Winter Soldier, right?
First Avenger.
Yeah. First Avenger. Well, Avenger. Well, the Captain Americas, right, are like top tier. I just thought that they went for some. Now, whether they, you know, they succeeded in some of these things, you know, we can debate, but I don't know. I just thought it was, you know, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was, you know, incredibly different for a Marvel film.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, it was just there was too many other things that they pulled from, and you mentioned it, Polly, and you know, it's fine. I still think they should have leaned, and I think this is kind of where I'm going to be on the same track as Script. I think they kind of needed to lean more into the Tao Lo stuff. They needed to get there sooner, man. They needed to be more in touch with the magical, you know, realm. I mean, this is feeding directly in, and we knew it was feeding directly into the new Strange film, you know, Multiverse of Madness. So it's not like, you know, that was hidden from anybody. All the visuals are the same. All the visual clues and the look and feel of the effects and everything are the same.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you also have the fact that there's the blip, right? The half of the population vanished and then they came back. That could be also a good angle that Shang-Chi could have argued, I guess, either with or maybe even Wang Wu argued. It was like, listen, we know people can disappear and they can come back. It just happened for 5 years. Why are you doubting me on this? And that was never brought up as a rational reason.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, the first moment of the film that really, like, I was like, okay, I've seen this. Of course, is the scene you bring up. You know, the John Wick in Speed on the bus thing, right? Because that's what that was. It was Speed. It was John Wick. it was just in a bus.
And from what I'm hearing, that's the best fight in the movie. It sounds like.
No, I say the
No,
best
it's
fight
not.
is the best fight is in I guess Hong Kong or whatever that Mako
Scaffold?
is it?
yeah,
Yeah.
Not on the
Yeah.
scaffold, but before they got to the scaffold, between him and the guy that trained him, and the Death Killer or whatever his name is.
That
yeah.
was too quick, but that was pretty badass. There
It
were
was
some
really
bigger
quick, but it was the
there were some
only-
bigger shots. Right.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
were some
Death
wider
Dealer?
shots on that. You're right.
There were brighter
Well,
shots on that, and they actually hit each other because I could tell.
Yeah, the,
Well,
yeah, the
yeah,
death-
and Simu released some of his kind of on the set footage of
Yep.
them. That was pretty sick.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I
that's
liked-
what I
I-
also really loved is that these actors were very athletic and did a lot of this work.
No, he can do a lot of the stuff that's in the film. The only one I know he can't do, and it's because we've asked him to try it when we were working, is when he does kind of like the flip to his hands and then flips back to his feet. He,
Right.
he can only do, he can't do that all in one move. He can do half and half.
Did you see him yesterday at the baseball game?
No, I haven't seen any footage on yesterday at the
He
baseball
threw
game.
out the first pitch and he did a backflip.
Oh yeah, he can do a
pitching
backflip. Yeah.
That, but like to do that in like civilian clothes, and I was like, that was tight.
Like a Ninja Turtle.
I liked the look of Death Dealer, so I'm just going to say that out loud.
Yeah, Death Dealer, that's the name.
Yeah.
Well,
and
before we get, oh, go ahead.
No,
Culture.
it's fine.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to get farther into the weeds on the fight scenes, but it's like I said. I mean, I just
we could nitpick, yeah.
Yeah, but well, I'm not going to nitpick. Some of that stuff was really impressive. I mean,
in a good way. I mean, like we can dig deep. Sorry,
Oh,
yeah, we can really dig deep. Yeah,
yeah. It
Well,
was
before we went too deep. I wanted to get because we never got Andre's initial.
Oh crap!
impression.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Andre.
I need to
Well, he
slide
did a whole
out
video.
anyway. Yeah.
We all did.
Well, he did do a quick video on that, but he didn't give his spoiler.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. That I've
sir.
already given my brief impressions. I just
Culture,
haven't done
think,
the
has to
deep
leave,
dive.
So I don't know if you wanted to head out now, Culture. If you had a few more minutes, or
I can give you just a couple more.
all right. Well, Andre, real quick, your
Well, real quick,
impression.
so as not to spend Culture's time and everything. I'm mostly in agreement with script on this. As I said before, I think there are so many great scenes in it. In this, it's just that to me it didn't come together, and there's something to do with the editing, but also I don't think the editing can do it when you have like just so many different styles within one movie.
Yeah.
And now I get that is one thing that Paulie really liked, which is cool and I respect. But as for me, it just pulled me out of it because to me, like it felt like I was watching a fan edit of 3 different movies, or maybe even 4 or 5, as some has suggested. But I did not feel that I was like watching one movie. It was so that it took me out of it. I wasn't able to enjoy it because it was just too jarring changes from
That's
one
why I
movie
hated the
to
last
another
Spider-Man.
within the movie. So that's kind of like my biggest issue with it. Everything else could have worked, and then of course also like this thing how they really made Shang-Chi such a beta character, and I agree completely with Tom that this thing that the CCP put out on Friday, the same day that this movie opened, that they were banning basically soy boys and effeminate men, as they were saying, in their movies and TV series, effective immediate. Obviously, that's some kind of like signal. They did not appreciate this guy, who is like so lenient, so subservient, so everything they don't want. They don't want this to be a role model to kids in China.
Well, I mean, a beta type, an easily acquiesceable person or a person with no agency is not usually considered a role model anyways.
Yeah.
And one thing that Hollywood has always, or at least the people I've dealt with in Hollywood that had money, that always kind of winced at is whenever I talked about how it's great if we could have a story with a positive role model that we would want ourselves or our children to look up to and try and emulate. And there's like, yeah, but this doesn't have the conflict. It's like, where's the depth in that? It's like, well, no, there's a great deal of conflict in a role model because the concept is that you're challenging their own convictions and you're showing them the possibility that, hey, if I maybe not behave the way I think is good for me and for my friends and family and the people I care about, but I can achieve this goal that would be far better. That's your conflict. And it's like, well, do you sacrifice a part of your soul to achieve a certain outcome, or do you hold on to your convictions and tough it out to get another goal that might not be as rewarding, but would keep you and yourself and your actions consistent?
Yeah, and also I agree completely with your point with this, that he actually killed the guy who was responsible for organizing the hit on his mother, and we didn't see it. He just said it.
Yeah,
that was that was a wasted opportunity.
That's
And
the most significant change.
Actor,
that's a milestone in his life. Like the first one we see is, okay, his mother dies, and the second one he kills the man that kills his mother. Like those are two important milestones. We get one of them kind of, and the one that changes him and changes his life to abandon his father and that entire world is, we don't get to see it. We're just told about that.
Yeah, that's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, it also robs the kid that was acting as the young Shang-Chi of a possible performance.
and he was, I preferred him to the adult Shang-Chi, I really have to say. Like I was like thinking, well, kind of like I was thinking with when I saw the 2011 Conan movie with Jason Momoa. I was thinking the same thing there. Like this kid who's playing the young Conan, Momoa is good, but this kid is better. You just like wait like 10-15 years and use that guy. Use that kid when he's adult. So yeah, I didn't hate the movie. There's so much good in it, but it's just bogged down and hidden by the.
It's basically a weird narrative, and the other part too is, I think, some of the stuff they do is derivative with regards to what they're paying homage to and how they're doing it. It's almost as if they didn't let the director Destin have the fun that he wanted to have on things that he could have done. Like the closest we got was basically him and with Shang-Chi and the guy that trained him in.
Well, that of course is the Marvel. That's the Marvel way. So I don't have like any issue with that per se, because that kind of like goes with the territory. However, what I do is I hold Kevin Feige more responsible for that, because he has lost his way a little bit too. Because I don't think that he would have let a movie like this fly 5 years ago.
Probably not. And the other part too is that Shang-Chi, Paramount had been trying to make Shang-Chi since 2000. I remember learning about that just recently too, because I had no idea at the time. Because when I was there for my short little internship, it was all about Marvel films and which one are they going to start with? Is it going to be Iron Man or Captain America? They didn't know at the time. They'd never even brought up Shang-Chi. So I found that out just recently, that, oh yeah, they've been trying to make this movie for 20 years, but now that Marvel Studios is Marvel Studios and they got all the rights to those types of characters, they did it. And I think if they did do it 20 years ago, it would probably be way more in line with like Fu Manchu character and all the things of that nature. And it probably would not have had the same type of impact of a film.
Oh, definitely.
That we'd have today. The only thing we could hope for is more, traditional martial arts style cinematography, which I thought was also kind of lacking in this one. There's way too many quick cuts for some of the shots.
I think a Shang-Chi movie made 20 years ago, when they first tried it, probably would have been a better movie than the one we got now.
A better movie, but I don't think it would have traveled as well.
No, obviously it wouldn't have. It wouldn't have had the brand. Mm-hmm. But I'm inclined to believe it might have been the better movie. Could be wrong. But,
fuck it, Disney. Just give Tarantino some money. Let him go make a Luke Cage and Iron Fist movie and be done with
Heroes
it.
for Hire.
Holmes, Holmes. He's got to do Jutsu first, eh? I want Tarantino
one does not have to rule
Jutsu.
out the other. I'd watch that.
Right?
He has there's precedent for that. He has talked about being a big fan of like Luke Cage and shit, and he even talked about his idea for a Luke Cage movie before.
God, that'd be so good.
Yeah. No, everyone brings up great points. That's why I want to see it again, and You know, again, I went in with the best scenario. You know, with the gal, 7 p.m. Had good energy, packed
That's awesome.
house. You know, as I get older, that's tough. Like anything after 9 o'clock that I start, I fucking fall asleep. Oh, excuse
No,
my language.
that's pretty good that you got. I mean, if you also had a good crowd, that also helps a lot. I mean, I
It
was in a
helps a
theater with
lot.
6 people, like
And
total.
yeah, and I will say, guys, that when the Marvel intro came on, people screamed. You know, it's this is the mainstream audience, better for worse. You know.
I don't know that I agree with that. And if that's the case, then where did they go after the second weekend?
Oh, bro,
Let's-
I'm just telling my experience. I mean,
Yeah,
No,
like you
no,
had a good. If you can get a good experience out of this,
yeah,
out
I'm
of any
telling you
movie,
that.
really, that's always
Yeah,
a win.
I'm
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just
no,
saying that people scream. I'm like, what are they screaming about? That's a stupid Marvel thing.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, and the environment makes the whole experience just like a ball game. Like if you go to a ball game, you got a good crowd. It's the same thing. I mean, it's a conversation we've had around, you know,
Mhm.
the doing something with others, even if you don't know them, you know, is an experience that we were missing for a long time. So, you know, having that energy back in these theaters and stuff can add to the euphoria of the experience. There's no doubt about it. But
That was
I don't.
Mhm.
Here's the weird thing. I came out of that movie,
Mhm.
and this is just to wrap up my thoughts on this before I head out. But I came out of the film going, I don't feel that like that giddy excitement, you know, that I had at the end of some of the the earlier Avengers films for whatever reason. And I don't know if that's because they keep dipping into the same formula or whatnot, but I don't know what it was. You know, in the mid roll and the end credits scenes hit me wrong. You
Mhm.
know, a lot of the jokes hit me wrong.
Well, you know, just so you know, you guys are getting. I'm giving you guys as a complete experience as
Yeah,
possible.
yeah,
And at the end, walking out, you know,
yeah.
me and Romy were just singing its praises, and
Mhm.
and you know, I really wanted to just interview more people around me, talking, like, but that being said, there was two younger gentlemen that were walking out saying that was the worst Marvel movie ever.
Wow.
And I was like,
Wow.
okay.
Well, and
Okay.
that's a weird thing because, like, you
That's a
know,
weird thing.
you did that, right? And then I went around. I talked to staff members that worked at the theater, right? You know, I talked to a concession person and an usher, and I said the theater was basically empty. Has that been what it's been like for a lot of showings? They're like, oh yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's weird. And that's the other thing. I mean, these are what we call anecdotal experiences. So we're all going to have, you know, a different experience. We went to a different theater at a different time to, you know, to have to see the same film. And that's the only thing that's in common is it's the same film. But anyway, I do have to dip. Thank you very much for having me here and
for being
letting
here,
me
Culture.
talk
Appreciate
about
it.
this. You guys are the best. Do check out all of these gentlemen everywhere that they are. They are incredible creators and my friends. So everybody have a great day. Love you. Peace out.
Yeah.
Thank
Peace
you for
out.
being here,
Well,
Culture.
thanks for joining us.
And after this, Andre, I'm going to have the Midnight's Edge martial arts debate.
Oh yeah, we're getting there. I was gonna say, in fact, let's get a few super chats in here.
That was awesome.
I believe we left off with Valiant Renegade, who says for $9.99, late to the show. Been working on my first vid since Ida. Hopefully you're doing pretty good there, Valiant. I know we've been checking in quite periodically, but yeah, the devastation you showed me in those videos is insane. But anyway, he goes on, and it's about Shang-Chi. This movie was a box office fail. No question. Disney can bloat the press releases, but I will shred them later today.
I look forward
And
to
then he
it.
has another one following that up that says, and for the record, I'm not discussing whether the film was good or bad. Paulie loved it. That's cool. Glad he did. Mike hated it. That's okay, too. But for me, it's all business. No skin in the game. So there you go. If you guys want another breakdown on that, so tune in later when Valiant drops his video. And then we got one from Kevin Thomas who says, agree with Mike on Protege. You guys rock. Well, I'm sure Mike would be glad to hear that. DeWall comes in with $10, says the average moviegoer is Zach from Delgado Comics. It normally takes him 3 or 4 hours to watch throughs before he separates the special effects enough in the movie to actually analyze it. I'm not familiar with Zach from Delgado.
Nah, neither am I.
But I will take your word for that, DeWall, and thank you for the $10.
Professor Gray.
Professor Gray says expectations, both studios and fans, is that part of the issue? As far as Shang-Chi goes, I don't know. I mean, we've kind of gotten to this point where it's kind of the onus is on Marvel here, right? Like, in a sense that they've given us enough movies now. We've given them the benefit of the doubt. Now that's kind of how it goes with movies like Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. They made them. We showed up. They were good. Now you can't give us something subpar and expects us to just eat it up and go, oh, I love it. I mean, if that's what you mean by that part, what do you guys think real quick?
Oh, you're right. But that's exactly what they do, because once they have you, they just think they have you forever. And that's just it.
Yeah,
show up.
It's very much like the relationship of trust. Trust is something you never stop earning. You're always mainly doing whatever you can to kind of reinforce it at this point. But on corporation side of things, especially at the bigger you get, that's harder to even care about, to maintain, because you're seeing so much profit coming in from whatever you're putting out. Even when you kind of slip up and you make a mistake and nobody catches you on it, you're still going to be like, okay, well, we can kind of get away with a couple of things. And then that escalates more to, oh, we can get away with a couple more things, then a couple more things, to the point where you're still making a lot of money, but your brand is kind of suffering. And only the smarter business people will realize that and then change course, and then the bad ones won't, and eventually that business will go under, and it's going to take a while.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry.
Oh, I know him by.
I didn't know him by that name. Yeah.
But yeah, like that's
funny,
that's
Delgado.
I love Raz's comment. It's a piss in the face every time now. That's exactly what it is.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, script doctors. Oh, okay.
No,
now I know who he was talking about. All right. Okay.
Yeah, now I realize who he's
sorry
talking
about that, DeWall. All right. But anyhow, yeah. So did you have any more points to make on the end there? I'm sorry.
Other than the fact that it's really important that if you are a creator or making a product or in a company, that you recognize the standards you set for yourself and do everything you can to maintain those standards or raise them in order to satisfy your audience. And you do that by paying attention to your customers and reconciling whatever take they have on what you put out there and try to do better with the next one. With Marvel, it seems that that's not exactly the case. They're relying so heavily on the brand that the quality tends to suffer. And the other part too is that a lot of Marvel fans, myself included, we're all thinking about that first time we saw Iron Man, that first time we saw Captain America, how much it impressed us, it blew us away, and we're hoping that every experience of a Marvel film is going to replicate that in some variation. And for a lot of the fans, it's not always the case, and for a lot of other fans, it is. So it's kind of like, you got to weigh those scales, and you got to figure out.
Especially with this movie.
Yeah.
Especially with this movie, because what you said right there is that I felt that they did do a great shakeup, and they did have some formulaic Marvel in it. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of it was getting stale. So, yeah, that's a good point, Script.
Yeah, and Script, I gotta ask you something, because in the original Marvel movies when they came out, we all felt the build, right?
Yes.
Now in this iteration with this Phase 4, I don't feel any build. So is that so to say that they don't know what they're doing next for the overall story arc for going into Phase 5? And
I don't think that they don't know what they're doing next. I think that the people who used to work at Marvel that would set those things up are not there anymore, and the new guard that's in there is not doing it as effectively as done previously. Because the first setup we got was, oh, they're going to do the team of the Avengers, and then the next setup we got was, oh, they're introducing Thanos, the Infinity Stones, and then the next one introducing Thanos, and we could plot where they're going. Like we could see the direction, the roadmap, so to speak. We didn't know how they were going to drive on that road with the characters or who was going to be behind the wheel, but we kind of knew that the destination. Here it's a little bit more abstract. Like it's harder to get a beat on to draw.
Yeah, like there's no overall thing going on. Well, it's like Galactus isn't coming.
That's the problem. Is I think they shot their wad with Infinity War, right? Let's be real. Yeah. What are you going to do? You're just generic at this point. You're just.
Well, I mean, the next escalation would be either Secret Invasion, which is the Skrulls takeover of Earth, or Galactus, or some other thing.
Hell, I'd watch Secret Wars.
Yeah, Secret Wars and the Beyonder and all that
Well,
stuff.
that's where they're headed to a point, but I get where Jesse's point is coming. Like, that's the whole thing, is like, we've reached a point now where it's all so generic. It's like, okay, we've done the Thanos thing, we've done the Avengers thing, like you just said, Script. What else can you do? Rebuild?
I know
the
what I would
Avengers?
do.
They wasted Ultron.
I would
Yeah.
start introducing Mr. Sinister, and I would start introducing and Sabanor, otherwise known as Apocalypse.
I'm not
so that
really
you
even
could bring in
talking
the
about the
X-Men.
character so much as the stakes, right? Like, that's my point, is they have
It's
fucked
always
up.
for the world.
Well, that's the point.
guys-
Like, I think Andre was right from the point, and I know a lot of other from the beginning, and a lot of people have agreed with this. Is like, at the end of Infinity War, that's where they should have jumped off from there. They're like, no, this is what happened. You just lost half the population. Deal with it. Now, here's your next 10 films dealing with the fact that you just lost half the fucking population of the universe, right? Or this galaxy, or whatever it was.
It was the universe, yeah.
Was it the universe or galaxy? I couldn't remember.
Universe.
I don't know if I can
Whole
totally
universe,
agree
yeah.
with you, but another thing I wanted to bring up real quickly is that because of this success, and you can debate that, what does this mean for the future Marvel films? Is this a good thing for release dates? Because this seems to be a shoot, a shot in the arm for the industry a little bit.
Yeah.
It
That's
does,
a good
but
question.
they got to get the right ones to fill those roles. Otherwise, it's not going to be, and it's going to be a big letdown and a big wasted opportunity. I mean, it could be a huge shot in the arm, but maybe it will, maybe it won't. It all depends on what they come out with, and if they have the overlying story arc going. They need something.
But there's already films that are done. That's what I'm saying. Like, what does it mean for the release dates? Because Hollywood's been delaying shit. This Andre is debatable, but it's being touted as a huge success. What's this mean for Spider-Man?
We already got the answer to this, Paulie. We saw.
Oh,
earlier.
I'm sorry.
No. You're good point though. We just saw earlier, as we were starting to stream, they dropped the story. Venom is now moved up to October 1st. That signifies to me that nobody else is going to move anything. Paramount kind of preemptively, probably pulled back, and they should have just waited. Like, that's kind of what we pointed out earlier, but I don't know what everybody else thinks. I mean, but clearly Hollywood's seeing this as the success they needed to move forward by not delaying any more films.
And how do you guys feel about that? Like with Venom and Spider-Man?
Well, it all depends on how much stuff they have, because I mean, personally, at this point, I would push it all a little bit forward so that you're making a more consistent money flow, because it is having these 2 or 3 week drop off periods where then it ain't making anything after that. So you want to just push it out, but who knows what they got in the can? I don't. I mean, what they got, like 3 movies we know about. They got
there's
a bunch
more
of
than
stuff
that.
they've been working on that we don't know.
We've
about.
got over almost a year's worth of movies that we haven't released yet. Like, that's the thing. I mean, they just started getting back to work.
You can't fire them out too much, because then you won't have anything for the next period between when you're producing more.
As I pointed out early on in the beginning of
Strange.
this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I kept saying, is everybody's like, well, release these movies. It's like, guys. They can't just drop all these movies now, or they're not going to have anything to drop once they start getting back into production.
Precisely.
Yeah, we're in a little bit
of
a gap. Yeah, we're in a little bit of a gap right now. So people are scrambling and rushing to get as much content as they can produced and made to fill those slots, but it's not at the same pace as things before. Yeah.
Script, this is all unprecedented, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because these are in these times.
Right.
I hate saying, but that's real. That's the one variant that they didn't take into consideration as far as phase 4 was that this happened. And, the last a year and a half has been, a money loss. So, now moving forward, I mean, it just seems like it's, just the Wild West.
It is a little bit. You're right, Paulie. That's the thing is, and we've had to like preface and asterisks and do that the whole show with a lot of these things. And that's where, I don't know if you caught the earlier part of the show that kind of boggled my mind, is like, okay, let's take this shit at face value. Okay, fine. The movie made $90 million. Then why aren't you boasting that aspect? Why are you just boasting the fact that it was the biggest Labor Day opening? Who gives a shit? It's like boasting that you're 6 foot, whatever, and you beat the hell out of some kid playing 1-on-1 who's, barely 4 feet tall, was the point I made. I'm like, that's not something to be boasting about. They have stuff to be standing on, just like they did with Black Widow, but it's almost like they're shooting themselves in the foot. It was the point I was getting at. It's like, why aren't you doing that instead? Because, all right, fine. The movie made $90 million. Then get out there and say that then.
What I've read in every box office report this weekend is that, hit post-pandemic, like they're putting it in there. They're not saying like it's, this is the greatest ever. It's like, this is the greatest post-pandemic so far, like the third highest, right? Is that
well, I'm curious. Okay, what's the highest opening ever martial arts film?
Highest ever martial arts film?
I wonder if it didn't beat that.
Maybe
Opener?
Yeah. I can't believe Crouching Tiger made $80 million martial arts
film.
You
could say, that's kind of open to debate.
I'm not counting Kill Bill in there.
No, not counting things like that. But we're talking like, okay, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is my guess for highest grossing opening for a martial arts film.
Martial arts film. Then you're saying has a predominantly Asian cast.
Has a story surrounding basically some type of martial arts.
Right.
Well, I mean, some would argue The Matrix, but
no, you can't, because it's not a martial arts. It's not an Asian, predominantly.
I'm looking at like predominantly Asian, right?
That's a genre bender too.
Rush Hour 2 wouldn't qualify then.
Exactly. That's my point.
Right. That's a comedy.
So my guess is, okay, so let's go look it up here right now.
All right.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, opening weekend. Okay.
God, I remember seeing that in the theater. That blew me away as well.
I gotta go back to Box Office Mojo, guys.
Into the Dragon, The Raid. I mean, we're talking about a movie that opened in the United States, in North America. I don't know if The Raid had a big opening. I mean, Tony Ombach, that was pretty big when it came out.
Well, see, this
is the one with Jet Li.
Okay, see, here's the thing: is I'm trying to figure out when did it actually open wide, because they got a bunch of the piddly shit on here from when Crouching Tiger was showing on the indie circuit, or not the indie circuit, but the
Kung Fu Panda
shit. Yeah, Kung Fu Panda, I guess. Baby.
That's Karate Kid.
You're stretching there, but yeah, it looks like the highest.
Jersey, wasn't it?
Okay,
if you can do Karate Kid, you can do The Matrix. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, well, look at it this way. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, it looks like it opened to $10 million on President's Day weekend.
Okay.
That's my point, is I highly doubt that any martial arts film has ever had a majorly huge opening before. Why aren't they talking about that kind of shit?
What about the first cheesy Mortal Kombat movie?
The 95 one?
Yeah, that made money, right?
That one did pretty well.
I mean, I love The Crow.
I think that
everyone's saying The Crow.
Yeah, The Crow's an awesome movie, but it's not a
The Crow. I think only did like 15 or so its opening weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
That was an incredible movie, but was The Crow a martial arts film?
No, he was.
You're saying martial arts film. If you're saying like
right. When I
action
think
film with martial arts,
a lot of people call that sci-fi, and that's not sci-fi either. It's a fantasy.
Right. All right. Well, we're getting too much into a debate here, so like I guess that's a bad point to be made, but. I'm still saying there's a lot of things that they could be standing on about this movie that they're not. It was the original point I was getting to. So regardless, moving on with the super chats, because we do have a couple more here yet. And I know these are going to get good for Paulie here.
Yeah, I got to go.
Don't you pull a boulder roller.
No, hey, listen, I said it.
All right. Moving on here. Duran says, with €5, fancy money. Bonjour, monsieurs. Am I saying that right?
Bonjour, monsieur.
Monsieur. Chat and Wrenches. Accountant mode. Mexican Iron Man is weird. Viva la Midnight Side. Yeah, too bad he's not here still to hear that. He had a
call to take.
Yeah. Ram Bam 3000 says, to quote Dorothy Parker, if is one thing to suspend one's disbelief, it is another to hang it by the neck until it's dead. Yeah. Going back to our discussion on suspension of disbelief, and
that's a good quote.
Kind of thing. Yeah. And then we got this one we can bring up on screen right now. Rogues Retro sends in $5 Canadian, says Jet Li Hero is the highest at its time. Okay, so there we go.
Hero? God, that was a great film.
Hero. Okay, so I don't know how much that made.
Andy Lau was in
this
that.
Blew it out the water.
I loved Andy Lau.
So because that was what, almost 20 years ago now. The Hero came out, at least
around
2003,
2006 or
2004, yeah.
something.
Yeah.
15.
And then SDR Red Wolf says it sounds like it's worth no more than a matinee fare, a mixed bag at best, but with how it has a tendency, to yank you out of the film, I won't see it. So yeah, that's the thing I keep hearing you guys talk about, that even through the positives is like there's still enough shit in this movie that's going to nag at you.
Nah, I mean, well, no, for me, I want to correct myself. Andy Lau was not in Hero. It actually was Tony Leung, and to me, they always get their look wrong. You know, I always confuse those two actors. They're just stunningly handsome men. What's it called?
They confuse your genitals.
Jet Li and Tony Leung and Donnie Yen were in Hero.
Yep.
So my bad.
All right. And then moving on, we got let's see here. I think Douglas Nelson was the next one, right? Our good buddy Douglas Nelson, who sent us all the awesome art. Who I also shared the the rabbit chicken / headless snarf thing earlier from. Shang-Chi was just sort of okay. It had woke elements in it, but not nearly what I was expecting it to be. I liked it more than Black Widow, but I had higher expectations for that than this one. Well, there you go. There's another middling to negative review of the film. Then Slade Wilson says, Paulie, you're full of crap.
Hey.
Proof of
you know,
women.
Tom, you don't have to read it so like good. Jesus,
hey, I gotta
Tom.
inject.
He's like, I'm mellow. Don't be so aggro.
Ready to read that. You notice that, guys? That boy was ready to read. All right, Tom. Go ahead. Say it again.
You're full of crap.
Wow, Andre, come on, come to my aid.
He says there's
come on, let's all be friends here. Like,
I'm just picking on Paulie.
The way to do it is like, okay, here we have this member of our audience who says Paulie is full of crap. But yeah,
here's the thing is,
or he could do it as Doc Brown.
Well, can I finish the question, please?
No.
Okay. There's no direct proof of women learning any style better, faster than a man. Debate me. Okay, now, Paulie, you actually do teach some martial arts, do you not?
Yeah. I do.
So do you have any precedence for this, or?
Yeah. I mean, women learn quicker. They learn better. They can't muscle their way out of technique. So they just master technique quicker. I'm not saying they're the bestest ever. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just I'm relating that to in the film why the mom is so amazing, and then why the sister is so amazing as she learned it on her own. That was a real deal, you know. Like, you know, women aren't allowed to train. I mean, that was the thing too with Michelle Yeoh in Crouching Tiger, and with what's her name, Zhao Jing's character. That became I mean, that was the whole base of her thing. She wanted adventure. She wanted to be one of the dudes.
And her dad was very much a man in Arrested Development for a very, very long time until he fell in love. And once she no longer, because again, her training kind of stopped because her mom was teaching them. We had that scene with the two kids before she gets, killed. She's teaching both Shang-Chi and Xing Li that martial arts. And when she dies and he puts on the rings, he goes back to old form.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is in my limited experience, as a student, and then as someone who's taught Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for now over 10 years, they're just better students, And then for us dudes, we, especially if where we're at as men, there's a lot of emotional hurdles that we have to let go of in order to be, to be really good martial artists. And that's usually the ego, and that's usually our brute strength. We can those come into play later, but and so all I was saying is that women usually don't have those problems to begin with.
I think you made some very good points there, Paulie, and I believe a lot of that.
Well, I would say people tend to lead into what their advantages are, and if they see an advantage that is not with regards to muscle or strength, and they can still achieve a goal, they would lean into that. I think that can apply to women in martial arts. Could it not, Paulie?
Yeah, I mean, again, absolutely, and that's why I love that little thing where in the movie he was fighting. The father and mother were fighting, and they because he wanted to get into the village, and she was schooling him, and they had that also great moment of them flirting, right? Where his arm was like this, and she was basically controlling his forward momentum, but he kind of gave a wink and a smile. They did the same thing at the end where the son was doing that to him, and he acknowledged that it was that mother's training. That was beautiful.
Well, DeWall has a little bit different perspective on this. He says Paulie does not know what he's talking about when it comes to women holding and controlling their emotions in martial arts. I'm a martial artist. Women in the sport face a man who pull their punches.
No. I didn't say women face men. I didn't say that.
All Paulie was getting at was that when
Yeah.
a man opens up a thing from IKEA, he throws those fucking instructions in the trash where they belong. And he puts that shit together, and a woman sits there and reads the instructions.
Yeah, I never
That's
did
it.
I say my argument that women can beat up men anytime. No.
Well, that was true. You were talking about technique and learning as opposed to
talking about technique and learning because that's the best way for them, and because it's the best way, they often advance quicker and they excel in the martial art and bring they become great teachers, and that's just it. Going toe to toe with the man versus woman, no.
Statistically, it's going to be a difficult thing for them to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I mean, you take it let's say like the best champ, with respect for disagree. You can disagree all you want, but you take the best female champ, Amanda Nunes, who's an incredible martial artist in the sport right now. You put her up against maybe a male champ that's past his prime,
Mike Tyson.
No,
Mike Tyson's got asthma.
And I would even put it in. I'll put the same weight class, right? I think she's going to lose. It's just but that's not my argument. Okay.
Right, as you were pointing out here, as I put up after that comment, which I was really trying to grab.
Tom's having a great time with these.
I wasn't trying to do that one. I was trying to grab this one. Actually, says not this one. Actually, where's the other one where he said we're talking about? Where is it at? Jesus.
Tom is having a ball, Andre. So you know.
No, this thing jumps so quickly.
Well, he's talking about learning and practice as opposed to execution in the actual combat. Yes. Like that's the thing, right?
And that was in the film. That was in the film. And then like, yeah, that makes complete sense, and there's nothing wrong with that. It actually shows you we can be stronger martial artists by learning from the best teachers, and anyways, I've learned some of the greatest techniques from top tier female black belts and males. I'm not, this is just again my experience.
Well, exactly, and here's like the thing: people can have different experiences, and that's your experience, and I absolutely understand that. That's from a woman who's really focused and mastered the craft. Of course, there's a lot to learn, and I also see where you're coming from. That also depending on where you are and the kind of martial arts, that women may have an easier time picking up on how to do it correctly. That, of course, does not mean that the man who started at the same time, who may not do it as correctly, he still would have a considerable physical advantage if they were to go toe-to-toe against each other, although she might be technically better. He's still going to kick her ass just from like muscle density and bone structure alone. So I think we're all saying the same thing here. It's just a matter of how one phrases it.
We have one more super chat that has to do with this, and then we're going to move on anyway, because I think I have a good way of addressing this anyhow. Dewall sends in another $20. Thank you for that. Says, watch a female martial artist who faces a male who doesn't pull his punches. She will break down and become emotional instantly. Happens every time. They live in their own movie. Suspension of disbelief is devastating for them. I mean, Dewall, you're talking about a whole psychological thing. Again, what Paulie was getting at was actual, learning of technique and execution of technique. And this also goes to, I'm sure, if
exactly talking about different things.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of schools don't teach you how to take a full-on fucking punch in the face like you're out in the street.
Well, and I was going to say, there's a big difference between a woman who's going to go in and just learn, a specific martial art, as opposed to somebody who's going to go to, like, say, a self-defense school where they're going to teach her more techniques that may be based in some martial arts, but they're specifically built for somebody with a smaller frame, smaller body to combat somebody who has much bigger frame and much more control over them. And you're talking about like a whole emotional thing and all that kind of stuff, which is not anywhere near what Paulie was talking about. But we do appreciate the super chat. And I'm not saying that, that's a totally different argument, though, I think, than what we were trying to get to here.
Yeah, it's not about power that we're talking about. We're not talking about the power here.
No. I mean, it's amazing, right? The reaction just from saying something like that, right?
Hmm?
All I said was,
got the dander up.
Right, got the dander up. In my experience, women are more in check with their emotions when learning martial arts, because they don't have the muscle power. I said that, and I'll say it again.
It goes right back to dance.
It goes, and so they
exactly, and there's nothing wrong with that.
They're technical. They're and you can learn from that, and that's why I saw that in the film as well. That's it. Who's talking about power? Who's talking about punch? I mean, and some of the most devastating technical display of kicks I've seen have come from like a Holly Holm or a Amanda Nunez. But, to each his own.
No, I think people are misinterpreting what you said as opposed to just the learning aspect to the actual execution. And
it's a balance there as well.
Yeah. Planner Aspect sends in $5, or actually I jumped one, sorry. Bill Barkley says, by the way, Midnight's Edge, is this movie set before or after No Way Home? There's a good question. Anybody know the answer?
I didn't quite get a proper bearing on that, actually.
It was so quick. Because it was in that conversation at the beginning. Well,
it's at the dinner. Like it's dinner. Definitely after people have come back. I know that.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely after people have come back.
Well, isn't Wu or whatever from Doctor Strange in this?
The previous movie was also after things had come back. I think that the movie is set. I think that the movies like Shang-Chi, you can probably move. You can retroactively decide exactly where that fits a little bit.
Well, actually,
probably it's going to be before, because
do they have a time jump anywhere? Because they usually set a date and then they do a time jump. That's what they've done the last few, and they've all taken place in like 2016 or 17 or whatever.
Well, this one definitely takes place in 2023.
Okay.
Yeah. Because people come back in 2023.
Because Black Widow actually takes place in like 2017 or whatever.
Yeah.
16, 17, something of that nature.
That movie.
Or is it 16? I can't remember which. Yeah.
Thereabouts. Something.
All I know is they got the Sia song in the beginning. That's our cue as to when this movie came out.
Well, it should have been released 5 years ago. So how's that for a 5-year jump?
Well, that's when it should have been released then.
At least minimum. Yeah.
At least minimum. Yeah, you're right.
Should have been right after Winter Soldier, in my opinion. But yeah,
there's a difference anyway. I mean, really, yeah, exactly. Because there's nothing they're leading to, so it doesn't really matter yet.
Well, it's a generic bad guy at this point. That's what I was getting at before. But yeah. Then we got Planner Aspect, who says they fought the fate of the universe, and their escalation appears to be going for the multiverse's fate. See Spider-Man, Doctor Strange 2, and Loki. Yeah, and I get that Planner Aspect, but my problem with that is now in Loki, they've already made that kind of null and void. Right? Like they made it clear that there can only be one.
And Loki was bad.
It's fucked all this shit up, in my opinion, as far as like I didn't even really watch it, but just going off of what people have said, like Andre and the reviews, I'm just like, well, that makes zero fucking sense from a quantum point of view, especially if it's
I know they should have read the book first.
It made my brain explode when Andre did his review. I'm like, what? Wait. Like, anyhow,
They should have at least watched Back to the Future.
Exactly. Because Marty.
Oh yeah, Mark's 47 makes a good point. It does say present day when Shang-Chi wakes up. So is this before or after? Like, again, I don't know. Maybe Wong isn't here. But then again, you have Bruce Banner with the sling in his arm.
So it's got to be after
Present
Endgame.
day is when he wakes up and does the push-ups.
Yeah,
well, it's obviously after Endgame.
Yeah, it should
It's
be after
obviously
Endgame,
after everyone returns. So I would say that the order of the movies is probably reasonably correct. That Shang-Chi is the first movie to take place after Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah.
And this one probably takes place approximately, say during the events of Far From Home. I wouldn't be surprised if they take place at about the same time, and then the next one to happen is going to be No Way Home, which is going to lead directly into Doctor Strange.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So then we have Mega Wing Zero. Sorry. The Mega Wing Zero. Got it. Send in $5. Thank you so much. Says, I felt like three different movies and better movies smashed together to make one mediocre movie. That was Andre and Mike's nutshell review.
I heard
There's
that.
nothing worse than that.
I heard that.
That's just hot garbage.
It worked for me, Andre, but
yeah, and that's fine.
And I could see that, though. I could see,
yeah.
Yeah, I had enough of that with that last Spider-Man movie that felt like it was directed by three different people, and I was just like, "Yo, what the hell is going on with this film?"
Yeah,
but that's like the thing. As I said to begin with that it's okay. We can have different opinions. There's no right answer. You had a great time at the movie, and fantastic. I'm happy for you. I wish I had the same great time. I didn't.
Yeah, it's completely
but
subjective.
I wish I did. Yeah, exactly. So there's no right or wrong answer. It just didn't work. It didn't work for me. It did work for you, and it genuinely worked for a ton of other people, and that's why it's fun discussing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been great talk.
Yeah.
Rules are only rules in cinema or music or any kind of art because they make things stronger. They don't need to be there. You could ignore all the rules in whatever form of art you're partaking in and still make something awesome. They're just there. So,
hey,
the rules are really tools.
They're tools. It's a toolbox.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and DeWall brought up another comment here.
Can I read this?
Yeah, go ahead, Polly.
DeWall for $10. Thank you so much. I was not commenting on technical learning speed. Women learn through memorization and regurgitation. Men learn through doing. The comment was based on keeping their emotions in check. Memorization, regurgitation, doing, it's all the same thing. That's repetition, practice.
Yes.
That's time. So, DeWall, I appreciate you, man. And actually, what I'm going to be doing is a black belt panel. We're going to have 3 or 4 different black belts from different backgrounds. We're going to break down this movie. And I invite you to come be part of the stream. I invite all you guys because I think it'd be cool.
Well,
I haven't been in martial arts class for like 20 years, but DeWall has another comment here for you, Polly.
Okay, DeWall for another $10. DeWall, you got to come on over to Midnights Edge Espanol and to the Latino Slant, please, because spread the love. Most 12-year boys can keep their emotions in check while learning better than women. Even while learning softer gloves have to be used with women than children. Okay,
I think probably you're not going to come to an agreement there.
Real quick. What I had said earlier is that the older men try a martial art, get into a martial art when they're older, it's tougher for them emotionally to let go of their ego. Did I not say that?
Yes, I did. You did say that.
Yeah. When we're children, it's a different ball game, and for the most part, you're right, DeWall. You're right. I would say this. And please agree with me on this, is that I truly believe our kids they need it. It should be mandatory that that they should take martial arts for a year in their upbringing, in their schooling, because those the benefits of martial arts are great down the lines for team building, for respect, for get along with others. It's through martial arts that you learn those tools. That's why it's great to have our young kids in those programs. So thanks for the comment.
Well, it's really easy to fall into a He-Man woman haters club too here. Let's not forget that. Like, I can't find shit without women, okay? Like, I admit it. Like, I don't know.
There's a yin and a yang.
You can find your way to the movie theater without a woman. You end up buying a sofa.
There's a lot of shit I can't do without women. So, like, I'm not going to ever... And a woman will learn shit a lot faster in certain things when it comes to certain things. And the same thing with men on other side. You know, I'm not going to argue that point.
And I love being a man, but I'm not going to go and sleep with no man. Gotta have women.
That's right. Brett Cohen, though, says, Andre, you're wrong. There's always an answer. And it's 42. He is correct on that.
That is correct.
110%. It is 42.
It took a long time to come to that, too.
Hey, Tom, can you read Snail Messiah, please? Since you, with such fervor, said the other one.
I was just fucking with you before because I knew how you were going to probably answer it. But yeah. Snail says he agrees with you. And again, I get where you're coming from.
Come on, read it. Read it with
No. Tom, read it with conviction.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I agree wholeheartedly with the Latino. He says it like a fucking racist.
With the Latino.
It's like in Boondock Saints. He's our Mexican.
Oh, he did say just Latino. My bad. Sorry. All right. Anyway.
I like the Latino.
I made it sound racist. That was my fault. That was my fault completely.
I love it.
I'm just trying to get back to this one super chat that we skipped over, or two super chats that we skipped over here.
Be right back.
Rogues Retro came in and said Jet Li's Hero was the highest grossing at its time, and he was correct with that. He came back to let us know with another $5. Thank you so much. That Hero grossed $53.71 million in 2002. So yeah, there's another thing.
17 weekend opening. 17 million weekend opening.
There you go. So like, yeah, there's a lot of things this movie could be sitting on, is my point. And just the fact that it beat Halloween is not something to be boasting about, really. I just feel like there's so much more they could be. And I'm sorry about that, Paulie.
But in more important news, Halloween is out. I could go watch that now.
Not yet. The old one is. The 2018 one is out. But Halloween Kills doesn't come out until, was it October 16th, I think?
And there's gonna be a Halloween video game. I called that. I called that shit on my channel like a week and a half ago.
And I believe there's probably a lot of different perspectives on this, and I know Paulie would love to talk about it and debate it. So that's between you guys and him to set that up, because I have nothing to do with that. I'm not getting in the middle of it. All I know is that I think women can do things too. Okay, there you go.
I certainly hope so.
I mean, I don't understand why this is a big debate, I guess, is where I'm at right now. I mean, nobody said anything about women beating up men, did they?
No.
To begin with. So, like,
that's really expensive.
Yeah. I am
from California.
You're acting like this is news. I've been racist forever.
Oh, there he
is. Quit.
You guys would probably be surprised.
Or his internet's back.
Did you want your internet back, or did you? What are you doing, Andre?
I fucking knew it.
And I'm just struggling with the net a little bit, but I have to be leaving here in.
Well, we all do, because we're getting to the end, and I think we have caught up on all the super chats.
Yeah, we're
do stuff now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, Paulie, is this? This is not a super chat. This is just you talking, Paulie. Okay. All right. So we're all caught up. I'm pretty sure we didn't miss any, but if we did, real quick, let us know if we did. I don't think we did. As I was wrapping up there, Paulie, I'm looking forward to your debate on this, though, is what I was getting to.
How did I do?
So far, I don't know. I mean, I think you both made some interesting points, but I think that your initial point was kind of lost.
Oh,
So-
what was that?
Well, I mean, in the debate was my whole point, because I don't think you were making a point about women versus men to begin with in a sense of physical wise. You just meant that, it's that women pick up on learning things a little easier, which I can understand and generally have seen happen in my life. So there you go. I mean, I don't know why that's such
I
a
used to
hard
copy
belief.
all my math homework off of this girl Shannon. She was very
there's
cute.
that,
Right?
you know.
I'm trying to be as racist and fucking misogynistic as possible. All right. And
Chicks can do stuff now.
Yeah.
it's not working out too well.
You
All
need
right.
to be home to raise these kids.
We had Culture Casino here earlier.
How
Check
can I
out
reach them?
his channel, of course. Check out Jesse at the Crow's Nest.
Check it out.
Check out Script Doctor's channel. Check out not only Midnights as Espanol, where you can find Paulie every Tuesday and Thursday, but check out the Latino Slant as well. He can stream again. He can stream again.
Yeah,
Yay.
man. And someone asked
Paulie
about
can do stuff now.
someone asked about Eddie Almos and Danny Trejo. Eddie had to cancel. Danny Trejo were pushed the date back, and I have not followed up. So I
Are we
thank
going
you for
to
the
try and
reminder.
work something out with that, Mr. Almos, or is it just?
I think Almos is out for now. I probably won't try him for a few months, but Trejo, I gotta do like tomorrow. So thank you for reminding me, chat.
And if it don't work out this time, keep talking to him, man, because Danny Trejo does a movie every week. Like, he's always on a plane. You see his Instagram?
He really does.
Dude, he is always shooting a movie.
That's true.
He really does.
He might have a week of downtime at some point.
Shit, we could hire him for if we match his rate, we can hire him for the day.
There you go. Well, all right, guys, we're gonna hit some marsupials in the rain. Why don't you guys head on over to Nerdrotic stream? Tell Gary we sent you. Say hello, and until next time, kids. Take care.
Also, remember, there's toxic femininity
femininity
later
tonight,
tonight.
and it's an hour
Yes.
earlier than normal. Remember that. It's also an hour earlier than normal, so it'd be at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. I believe that's 6 Pacific time. If my my math
5 o'clock Pacific.
5
time.
Pacific.
Yeah.
5 Pacific. 6 Mountain, though, right? If it's what time of the year? I give up.
Koalas in the rain.